my God. Everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast, E3 2018. Today was the first day of the show floor. And we all had a chance to play and see some stuff. Before we do that, I want to quickly introduce us all. I'm Nick Henderson. I'm your host. I'm joined by Crispy.
Hello.
Christopher Guthridge. And Christopher Davis.
Hello, hello.
And like I said, this is the first day of E3. We've recorded 2 podcasts thus far, covering all the press conferences. I will go ahead and say this: if you have not listened to them, I would check those out. We cover all kinds of cool stuff, like the Microsoft and Sony conferences. That was about it. Everything else was kind of a letdown. But hey, there's actually been quite a bit of cool stuff at E3, and today was our first chance to kind of get our hands on some of it and see some of it in depth. In detail. We have one more press conference we want to talk about. We're going to cover Nintendo because that happened this morning, and then we'll move on to talk about some of the stuff we played and saw, like Spider-Man, like Resident Evil 2,
yes,
like Dying Light 2, like Cyberpunk 2077, among other things. It's been a pretty eventful day. They say your mic is low, Chris, but you haven't really said anything.
Right now?
He hasn't really said anything yet.
I'm not speaking much.
But you're going to speak in a second, so if he needs to adjust his microphone, please let us know. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into it. I have the handy dandy community spreadsheet that people have been using to keep tabs of everything that's being announced. So, let's see. Per usual, what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does this mic? Oh no! Please hold. Please hold.
And
so. While he's doing that, we're going to go through...
Okay.
Okay, actually, test your mic. Go ahead.
Testing 1 2, testing.
Does that sound better? Sorry, we are, of course, recording these podcasts on the go. We are traveling.
Cool.
We don't have our usual setup, so things sometimes don't work out exactly as planned, so we appreciate your patience. Anyways, let's start with Nintendo. They had their big E3 Nintendo Direct this morning, and there's not a whole lot to cover.
No, they didn't.
There's a lot to not cover.
There's a lot to not cover. Oh my God. Okay.
Hey, that Fire Emblem game looked pretty cool.
That did.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Is that what that's called?
Yes.
It's a lot of houses.
I didn't even, now that I think about it, I didn't even notice that I didn't really know what the name of that game was. I just like, ooh, Fire Emblem.
They didn't
pretty.
do a good job like telling you what that title was. No.
It just, that was just kind of a, give you a taste of what it looked like and what it played like. I think it looks pretty cool. One thing I noticed, like, why are all the characters wearing their like jackets with their arms out of the sleeves? You know what I'm talking about?
that
Because it's stylish.
that's cool.
Is that cool?
That's
is that
cool. Nick.
That's what the cool kids wear.
Is that
what
like
cool people
like
do.
zippers in Kingdom Hearts, but like the Fire Emblem version?
No, that's dumb. Wearing trench coats like capes though is really cool.
Yeah, excessive zippers and clown shoes. Yeah, that's out of style.
But
Wonderful.
Yeah, that game looked fucking dope. All the combat scenes.
Yeah.
Where whenever you are in the tactics view and you attack somebody, they zoom in and do the normal Fire Emblem thing, but they've also got a bunch of NPCs milling about to make it look like a big battlefield.
It makes it feel like you're commanding an army instead of just like a handful of units.
fucking cool.
And it had
Fucking
a really nice looking art style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm
And
kind of into it.
It's like a full kind of console version of the Fire Emblem we've been getting for a while now.
On the 3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now for the Switch.
It sounds cool. It looks cool. I've admittedly never been the biggest Fire Emblem fan, but it's kind of a series I've always wanted to break into. So
Same here, actually.
maybe this will be the one that gets me into it. Damon
Ex Machina.
Demon Ex Machina.
Demon Ex Machina. This is the trippy looking mech game, right?
From Marvelous.
From Marvelous. I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, this looks like it's gonna be a platinum game. You know, we always get like 1 or 2 platinum games at E3, and I was like, I'm just waiting for the platinum logo to show up. But it wasn't. It was Marvelous.
We only got 1 platinum game this year.
But was it Marvelous?
I mean, it looked pretty cool. I don't know. It kind of looks. I don't know. What would you call that game? Like a. I don't know. Like
arcade mech game.
I mean, to be totally honest,
bullet hell mech.
This is one that I kind of wish I had watched the trailer
really
for
bullet
again
hell.
before we recorded.
I wasn't called about bullet hell. I'd call it like a bastardization of like Zone the Enders combat, maybe.
A bastardization.
A bastardization.
Yeah.
You don't think it's just kind of like the same thing?
It doesn't look as clean, in my opinion.
I think we should watch that trailer again after we
I don't know,
finish
man.
recording
It's
this.
got mechs. That's already pretty good.
Yeah, that's true.
Looks cool. and then they had nothing else that was new.
There's a couple things here worth mentioning. They showed Pokemon Let's Go a little bit.
Oh yeah, they did.
I think the big thing out of that we noticed at least was they confirmed that online connectivity is required to play this. Apparently, right?
Yep.
I guess I'm not too surprised about that, but I guess it just makes me wonder how you're going to play this game on the go. You can play it.
Oh, that's
right?
cool.
Right, it's a Switch game. You'd want to play it on the go, but if it requires an internet connection, you can't just play it like in the park.
I mean, it could be NFC if it detects a Wi-Fi signal.
Well, first of all, on Demon X Machina, apparently that's a former Armored, like the guy from Armored Core.
Oh, so they have a history working with mechs and stuff.
Oh, really?
Right. So yeah, it's that guy doing this at a different company.
That's cool. I want to watch that trailer again.
So it's probably not going to be that Zone of the Enders ish.
Which we need.
But that's cool. I mean, yeah, fuck yeah. I would try it if I had a Switch. If I get a Switch.
Something tells me you'll eventually have one.
Pokemon though. So Pokemon Let's Go requires an internet connection?
That's what they seem to imply.
Because I would imagine, I don't know, this is just me kind of guessing from context, but I would imagine that's because this is supposed to be so like closely paired with Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
You know, so like they want you to keep Pokemon Let's Go at home. And then if you're like out and about on the move, you're playing Pokemon Go, you're catching the Pokemon, then you're bringing them back.
Something tells me this game is going to launch on Switch right alongside like a major update to Pokemon Go on phones. That helps it like.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, none of us have played Pokemon Go in a while, so I mean, who knows?
Or at all.
Maybe it's good. No, I played a bunch of it that first summer.
I haven't touched it at all.
And Nolan played even more.
Robin had a Pokemon Go problem there for a while.
Remember when he was talking about when he drive along I-35?
That was such a weird summer. I was like pulling into public parks at like midnight, and there's just people everywhere.
No, do you remember that
trying to get fucking like oh my god, somebody found a fucking pincer nest,
dude. Dude, that was weird. But do you remember there was that one time Nolan had told us he was driving back to his home
on I-35,
on I-30, but he cut through downtown Round Rock and he drove past the public library at midnight. And there were a bunch of like high school kids, like 100 high school kids in front of the public library playing Pokemon Go. That is some weird shit. But you know what?
That's the most traffic that library's probably had in a week.
That's neither here nor there. Pokemon Let's Go, I think, looks pretty, but you know, it's time will tell.
Will we
what
ever
that
capture that magic again?
I don't know. Super Mario Party Super Mario Party.
Super Mario Party.
I feel so sorry for the team at Giant Bomb because they have to play one more Giant.
Somebody photoshopped there was like their reactions to. I don't know what the original reaction was, but it was like they have all their faces at the bottom of the screen, and everyone was just like hands in their heads in their like faces in their hands, like oh my god, and then there's Dan Reichert at the end, like whoa. Yeah, it said Super Mario Party at the top. I thought that was fantastic.
Did you? But the thing is, the one thing about that thing was
about that thing
was where they were showing off a game that involved two switches at one time.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And they could actually interact with each other by positioning them.
No.
They took two switches.
Yeah.
Like they took the Joy-Cons out, laid them down side by side at angles, and they synced together and created like a new map.
A game board or something.
Yeah. And you could like depending on how you moved it around, that became the game board.
That's cool.
But that's the thing.
That was a really cool thing.
That was something they demonstrated when they were first showing off the Switch.
Do the controls change contextually with that setup?
I don't know. I mean, this was like a very like kind of quick glimpse at Super Mario Party. I don't know. I've never personally been a Super Mario Party fan, but I actually know a lot of people who are maybe more casual gamers who like are really into Super Mario or Mario Party. I don't know why I can't get that name out.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know.
No, it's not.
I mean,
the technology is cool, but the game is not.
Hey, you just sound like you're biased against Mario Party. There are lots of people out there who enjoy Mario Party.
Dozens.
There are dozens of us. Anyways,
diminishing by the day.
Moving right along, they showed Fortnite. Big surprise there. Woo! I didn't know Overcooked 2 was going to be a thing.
Oh well, Fortnite. There's kind of a funny bit of news with that though, because they dropped Fortnite, so everyone like it's out. So everyone was trying to like log in and play it, but apparently Sony has a thing with Epic, where if you ever associate your Epic account with a PS4. You then cannot use that account on any other console.
So you'd have to create a
you
new
can't
account.
use it. Yeah, you can't use it on a Switch or I think an Xbox. And like somebody, Greg Miller, I think, posted a screenshot of like the screen you get when you try to log in on Switch, and it says right there, it's like it's like Epic Games customer support cannot help with this. This has nothing to do with Epic. Like,
wow,
it is fucked.
Were they just
man.
hoping nobody would notice that?
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's just a fucking
Seems like
shit thing to
It's
do.
fucked.
I have a feeling there's going to be some
we'll
repercussions to that.
We'll see how long until that blows back in Sony/Epic's face.
So there is a Fortnite booth in the South Hall.
Yeah.
It's also
with
right
the
next to
battle bus
Capcom.
and everything. Yeah.
It is fucking huge.
Yeah. They got so much money.
You don't
now.
realize how much money they're fucking making off this fucking game until you've seen this booth.
They got. So
We'll get some pictures of the booth and tweet them out tomorrow.
Dude,
when
they
we're
were
on the
also
floor.
doing some big charity tournament today too.
Something like that,
The Coliseum. That's fucking nuts.
Doesn't really surprise me.
God, last year, we were playing the demo for that game in the little closed door office, going like, "What even is this?" You know?
Oh my God,
Like,
you're right.
That was a year ago, and the game wasn't even out yet.
That was one of
and
our.
now it's
It's a gigantic
and now it's
thing.
something completely different, and also is making a lot of money.
That was one of our favorite games of E3 last year. And the mode that we played the demo for is not even. I mean, it's still a thing.
It's not even the
but
focus of
nobody
the game
really plays
anymore.
it apparently, right? Nobody plays that mode.
I'm sure people do. It's
I
just
don't know. People might.
You know what
but
sucks? I bought
not nearly.
I
in
bought
the,
Fortnite on PS4, and then it blew up, and I lost all interest in playing it. But you can't trade it. Like I can't even trade it in. I can't get rid of it. Anybody want a copy of Fortnite? PS4?
Wait, you bought it for PS4?
Yeah, I have it on disc. I have.
Wait, I didn't even know they
You
printed
can buy that
discs.
shit on a disc.
yeah.
Holy shit. well, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Sure, why not?
$5.
Why not? I'm trashy like that.
So ironically, when we were doing our Sunday stream when they were doing Microsoft and Bethesda,
Oh yeah,
we played Overcooked.
We didn't know we were teasing a new drop.
Yeah, we played Overcooked on Friday, and then it turns out this morning Nintendo announced that Overcooked 2 is a thing.
Oh my god.
So I think the important thing to say here is internet, you're welcome.
there you go.
Yeah, we knew all along. We got that.
I'll give you $3.
Oh man, Lenali's gonna give me $3 for Fortnite.
Oh well, that
Can you-
outbids me.
Can you top it? Yeah, Overcooked
350.
2 looks cool. It looks like they're going for like
Even
more
more
like
chaotic.
supernatural, like themed.
More dark magic this time.
Yeah,
which is
lots of-
good.
Lots of dark magic
I
and high
think most
fantasy
games benefit from more blasphemous dark magic, but
Yeah.
that's me.
stuff. You know what? Overcooked is
old-fashioned.
dope. I really enjoyed playing that on Sunday.
The one thing that's going to change the game is the ability to throw things.
Mm.
You're not just placing things down on a counter.
Throw? What would you be
can
throwing?
throw them.
Yeah, that sounds stupid, but that's absolutely correct because like in the first one, remember we were having trouble like remember there's that one kitchen with the counters that kind of zigzag
Yeah.
through the kitchen and everyone's kind of separated and we're like having to hand stuff over the counters, but it's like I have to put something down and then you have to pick it up and we have to like get a rhythm going for that. Now you can just fucking like throw shit at each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
dope. Man, Overcooked is fun. Overcooked 2 is probably just gonna be more of the same with different levels, and that is
Nothing
perfectly
wrong with that.
Perfectly okay.
Beautiful.
What's next?
Killer Queen Black. And now, to be totally honest, I don't know much about Killer Queen, but I
don't.
do know if you listen to the Kind of Funny Games,
It looks like
podcast,
Joust.
They kind of got wind of this earlier before E3, and that was like a big rumor, and they're all big fans of it, and they kind of blew their mind that this was a thing. So I feel kind of inclined to try it. I don't know too much about it, but it's based off of a popular arcade game, which has made its way to Switch now, which is cool. I'm sure they're very happy about that.
So an arcade series that's apparently pretty popular in bars. Or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Like
Exactly.
weird.
So I definitely want to check that out. Hollow Knight was announced
Woo!
officially and is out. It's
We know-
available now.
we know all about Hollow Knight, but now it's on Switch.
And you know what? I tried to wait so long for this day, but now I'm like 30 plus hours, almost 40 hours into Hollow
failed.
Knight, and I'm not going. I'm not starting over. Damn it! I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, potentially what you could do is jailbreak your Switch.
No, that's too
and
much
then
work.
you could install your save from your PC version.
Jailbreak his Switch. The guy who can't even like turn on his computer without breaking it. You want him to jailbreak a Switch?
Okay, that is true.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nick. I love you. What's next?
I felt like I just looked at the camera and felt like sad Ben Affleck.
It's okay.
Oh, go. What the fuck?
It's okay.
What was that? Okay, Starlink. Right? Starlink? They
Starlink,
Showed,
yeah.
they showed more
Battle for
Starlink. I
Atlas.
couldn't
Were
be
you hoping
less.
for a new Star Fox game?
I couldn't be less interested.
Well, too bad.
Arena. Okay, so this was at some point they hit like a montage, right, of like an indie montage kind of thing that you
They were
see
just
all these
kinda
press
blasting
conferences.
Bunch of
through
shit.
stuff.
Arena of Valor, Minecraft with Mario in it, Sushi Strikers. I played the demo for that on the way here actually on my Switch. That game's silly and goofy in an interesting way.
The only thing I hear bad about is that the controls are wonky.
I don't even know if it's the control. I would say the first thing I would say is that like there is way too much talking. Like they try to tell like a serious, not a serious, but like they're trying to tell a story, and there's like shit tons. Like I was doing so much reading in that game, and I was like, are you kidding me? This game is called Sushi Strikers.
You were getting that lore, man.
There's so much lore. Why? Why is there need to be this much lore? Pixark? I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, we don't know anything about
that's,
it, but it's
that's
kind of like
Ark
a,
Survival Evolved
but
done
like
in like
really
Minecraft.
low res.
Oh,
It's the same game. It's just Minecraftified.
weird.
Which it already kind of was. I don't know.
Dragon Ball
Kinda.
Fighters coming to Switch.
That's cool.
That's cool. That game is great.
There's a new Splatoon.
Wow.
Splatoon 2. Woohoo! Crash Bandicoot. Wait, what was the Crash Bandicoot thing?
Just that it is.
The
it's Crash
Insane
Bandicoot.
Trilogy?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ninjala. I saw this I saw this on the floor today, but I don't even know what it was.
I don't know
this
what it
is.
is.
Saw people walking around wearing masks, but maybe we'll check that out tomorrow.
We didn't spend a lot of time in that hall, did we? Wasteland 2.
That game's been out for a while.
Definitive
but
Edition is
Or
coming to
Director's
Switch.
Cut or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Paladins.
Not Overwatch.
Don't really know anything about Paladins, to be totally honest.
It's not.
It's not Overwatch.
Let's see. Fallout Shelter. We already knew that was coming to Switch, right?
Like 3 years
Sync
late.
Heroines? Heroines. I was like,
Heroines?
what's a heroine?
SNK
Sync
Heroines.
Heroines. I got that. I couldn't get that word out.
It's just a new SNK fighter, but with ladies.
The world ends with you. Mario Tennis Aces. Where was I when this was happening? I think must have blacked out during the last part of this thing.
No, this was still part of that.
Yeah.
Montage.
That montage. It all
They got
happened
through
pretty
all
quickly.
this, and then of course they talked about Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
Just kidding. They didn't. No, they didn't.
You fucking wish.
God, they didn't. Instead, they focused on the game we all knew was going to be the focus of their booth, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Ultimate.
We were kind of the debate. Okay, so here's the thing.
I wanna
The
hear
big
Ed Boon
debate
say that.
about Smash Brothers and the big question looming over everyone's head was, is this a new game or is it a port? Brad was doing the stream with us this morning, and he's insisting it's a port. And maybe rightfully so. It just kind of depends on how you look at it. We wouldn't play the game
Oh.
today.
Yeah, there was one that didn't end up on the list actually. Before we dive too deep into Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
the new Monster Hunter for Switch
Monster
was
Hunter
also shown,
Generations
and
Ultimate?
Generations Ultimate, and it is playable on the show floor at the Capcom booth. We
I
haven't
honestly-
checked it out yet, but I would like to. I would like to go check it out at some point.
I also
tomorrow or the
totally
next day.
accidentally skipped over the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Oh yeah, there's
Golden
also
Country.
Xenoblade
There's
Chronicles
that.
2 DLC.
Not much to say about that.
Now back to Smash Bros.
They spent 30 minutes of this press conference talking about Smash Brothers. They
It's a
did.
port, whatever.
So first of all, one small note, like
Yeah.
when Sony was like, "We're gonna do deep dives into like 4 of our big titles," right? This is what I thought they meant by that. Nintendo did a deep dive into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm talking like deep to the point where they were talking about details so small they had to physically circle them on the screen to make sure people noticed them.
But you have to understand, there is that audience that are fucking taking notes.
No, I know.
They're watching this
It's a
shit.
fighting game community. They're very passionate about it.
There's gonna be analysis videos.
Yeah, I haven't seen much online about it today, just because I haven't been online that much. But what I have seen has actually been pretty positive. I guess a lot of people in the Smash community are pretty hyped on.
Sure.
this.
I mean, here's the thing.
I don't know.
Brad was
why,
very
but-
upset because he wanted new characters. He wanted it to feel less like a port, and perhaps rightfully so. I do think there is if you look at it from like a developer or designer standpoint, right? When you sit down to say we're going to make a new Smash game, like what could the hook be? I could understand how as a creator they would have been like, oh, let's make a Smash Brothers game with every character that's ever been in Smash, and like that, make that the hook.
And that's
And
great.
like, and have that be just as exciting as creating a completely new game with new characters and new arenas and whatnot.
Yeah.
I could also see on the flip side of that how certain people like Brad, would be very disappointed that they went this route.
But it's also been 11 years.
But I would imagine
since Brawl. Like for example, that Brawl was when we got Snake.
Yeah. So like I
mean, there's a whole generation of people that haven't played.
It's been 11 years. That can't be right.
2007.
When Brawl for the Wii came out.
I believe it was 07.
Someone fact check that, or I can fact check that. I have a computer.
I think it was.
I'm not used to doing this.
The Wii was
I mean,
05.
maybe that just sounds crazy to me, but then again, I guess I don't realize how long I've been alive. Yeah, I mean,
it is 2008.
2008. Yeah, see, I knew you were wrong. I knew you were wrong.
10 years instead of 11. I apologize.
10 years. But I think
Got him.
I was off by 30 days. I apologize.
So I think there's a really important distinction. I can see why Brad is arguing it's a port. I can also understand why, from a developer's perspective, they're like, no, it's not a port. We went and played it, and the guy that was leading our demo today, I guess we can kind of talk about our time playing. That covers the entirety of the Nintendo press conference.
Yeah, I mean,
so we're kind of segueing into our impressions from the show floor today. Crispy and I went and played Super Smash, and the guy who was kind of leading us through our demo and telling us how it works and everything made a point to say, without being prompted, that, like, by the way, this is a brand new game developed from the ground up. This is not a port.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how qualified he was to make that statement.
They're not. The people who run those booths, I mean, are probably like, you know, I mean, like, I think a lot of the people that run the big booths like Nintendo are just like local hires. Like gigs,
but they're also running off scripts.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm saying is, like, Nintendo bigwigs are there telling them specifically what to say, and these people are just saying it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that they were very adamant about was, this is not a port. I kind of like pushed him on it too a little bit. I was like, are you sure? And he kind of waffled a little bit and didn't want to talk about it. But that's probably just because he didn't know. That's probably because he just didn't even know what the fucking conversation was about, you know. But yeah, they were pretty upfront with, like, telling everybody, this is not a port. We build it from the ground up. And, you know, I've already seen headlines today of, like, Nintendo confirms Smash Brothers Ultimate is not a port. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not qualified to make that judgment. I think the
reason why
Smash community
I would
be
say
the ones who come out and say, like, yeah, this is a pretty big shakeup. But
the reason I believe it's not a port from a technical standpoint is that they are incorporating every single character in every Smash ever made, right? They talked about that. Sure. They showed all these characters. Yeah. They showed tweaks to all of their fighting styles and their move sets and their designs and stuff. But more importantly than that, they had to rebalance this entire fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a bunch of these characters were built for rule sets that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So they have to be completely rebalanced.
So like everything that was used to build these older games had to be kind of incorporated into, like, I could understand how the more recent Smash Brothers could be used as a template for this game, but everything had to be carried over from old Smash Brothers, and everything had to be blended back together and rebalanced around all of that stuff. And, you know, at that point, it's kind of like splitting hairs. Like, it might feel like a port, but it's probably not.
I mean, if it's any consolation, the game has, like, newly designed UI. So, like, all the menus and everything are different than what they were like. So that kind of suggests that they're not just, you know, slapping a few new characters into a game that already exists. But, I don't know.
I'm hoping that they're, like, going to announce some new characters before.
It's still Smash.
So we got the two new characters, so we got several new characters. So we got the two big ones being Inkling and from Splatoon.
That's true. That one thing that Vudik mentioned is actually kind of a big deal, is that they now have the directional air dodge.
Yeah.
So that's something that you and I probably wouldn't ever notice because we suck, but like for competitive play, that might be
exactly. And also
game
changer.
And I must apologize. There might be people out there listening to this.
And they also have that new, like, timing block mechanic too, where, like, if you time your blocks just right, you actually do like a riposte and kind of like knock them back.
So I do want to kind of apologize. I know there's probably some people out there who might be listening to this podcast and, like, cringing because on some level we don't know.
We have no idea what
We don't know what we're talking about when it comes
Why
to Smash
are you
Brothers.
even listening to us?
We're not fighting game enthusiasts per se. I know Brad and Chai Tai especially, I think would have a lot to add to this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, Chai seemed
pretty positive.
Yeah, he seemed pretty into it.
I mean, it seemed like an exciting
and we played
thing.
it, and it was fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun playing it.
It still felt like Smash.
So we did. So we played 2 matches, and over the course of those, we played Inkling. Or I played as Inkling. You played as.
I played Ridley and New Link or whatever.
And we tried
like
both of the new
Wild.
stages, the Breath of the Wild stage and the Splatoon stage.
Yeah,
both were really cool. Pretty par for the course as far as like what you would expect, like a really well made Smash Brothers arena to feel like. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the reason this debate is so heated is because the visual style doesn't feel like it's changed much at all. It might be a little nicer looking, but for the most part, it's very much.
But the transition between every title is, with the exception of 64 to Melee, has been very iterative.
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, I think they've changed the visual style pretty significantly. At least between, going from 64 to GameCube and then going from Melee to Brawl. That was a pretty big.
Yeah, I remember
visual
the first time I saw
style
Brawl.
I guess to me,
I mean, it was. I mean, maybe going from Brawl to Wii U, it was more of just like a finer detail kind of improvement. But the visual style has definitely changed. This one just doesn't look that different.
Unknown Addict says, "How did the character select look? I bet it must have been an Eiffel." Now they spent a lot of time during the direct talking about how they've retooled the game so that you have to earn all these characters.
So like,
your roster starts out very small, but evidently they've reworked it to where you earn characters quite quickly.
Right. In total, the game in final has like 60.
It was
like 66 or something like that, or
60
something characters.
Yeah.
The demo version that we played, they had probably about 15 of them, maybe 20 unlocked.
So I'm wondering what that character select screen will look like when it's full.
Right. Yeah.
Because goddamn.
Was it Marvel vs. Capcom 2 like 60, 70 characters, something like that?
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
I
will say this. I will say that I'm kind of hoping maybe we get some more character announcements leading up to the release, which is in December, by the way.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I know some people think that because they're going this ultimate route and there's already so many characters, that's the reason they won't announce new characters. But I think it kind of goes the other direction, because they've demonstrated that they're willing to make a game with 60 plus characters in it already. So like they obviously don't have qualms about adding like a ton of characters. So,
and they had DLC characters for the last Smash. I would guarantee you that they will announce 6 to 8 additional new characters beyond what we have right now.
You're guaranteeing me that. You are guaranteeing
leading
me
up to
and our
launch.
audience they're going to announce.
You think before launch they're going to announce another 6 to 8 characters?
Yeah.
I think
now whether that's going to be in the base game, whether that's going to be DLC.
I think
Look,
that
if
sounds
you
like
wanna-
a hot
they might do a
dog.
season pass.
If you want to talk about how many characters they're going to add post-launch, maybe. I do not think you're going to get that many new characters before launch. I mean, I feel like this particular strategy, they were pushing the fact that this is like every Smash character we've ever done is in this game. That is the hook that they are hanging their hat on.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anything else to hang it on. I mean, I really feel like that, like that's the gimmick, and they're turning into that skid as hard as they can because they need to get it out. You know, I'm not saying that they're not going to add new characters later. I mean, I'm sure they will do DLC. They did several DLC characters for Wii U, and I mean, come on, that's just the world we live in now. But to say that they're going to introduce between now and December that they're going to just like surprise announce a bunch of new characters that they could withhold and then sell to us later, I think is naive at best, Chris Davis.
Well, let me. I mean, think about it this way: we've got Gamescom coming up. We're gonna have Paris Games Week to think about, and they could have Nintendo Directs anytime they
They
well
could,
please.
but the argument here is that they probably won't.
I mean, maybe they'll come out and like maybe 2-3 characters, maybe.
Allow me to just say it.
But
for
if
Brad.
you're setting your sights at 6 or 8, you're dreaming.
I'll go ahead and say it for Brad because he's not here. He can't speak for himself. Chris Davis, you sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Forgive me for being optimistic.
No, I mean, hey, it's okay to be optimistic. I'm sure.
Trust me,
I'm sure
I
they
know.
will give you every opportunity to give them more money for new characters later. But I think by the time we hit launch, it's gonna look kind of more like that 60-something.
Okay.
I do think it sucks because the route they've chosen to go has inevitably led to this discourse, which I think is going to continue all the way up to launch, which is this debate about whether they did enough or whether what this game actually is, whether it's a port or a new game, whatever. And it's distracting from the ultimate fact, which is Super Smash Brothers is still fun. It's on the
It's
Switch
still
now,
fun.
and it's going to be fun.
It's still fun,
Yeah.
but no Wonder Red.
No one. That's
No,
yeah. I
none
think
of the Wonderful 101. That's sad.
Brad didn't.
You know,
Brad didn't. I know Brad wanted
Brad's
Simon
always talking
Belmont.
about. Yeah, Brad's always talking about Simon Belmont or Andy from Advanced Wars or things like that. Those would be cool ideas. I mean, even we were talking a little bit about some more Sega crossover, like throwing Kiryu from fucking Yakuza or something. That series is doing really well now. That stuff would be cool. I think that's kind of maybe the flavor of hope that we went into this with, and they didn't have anything like that.
Yeah.
The closest thing they had was 2 new characters, and those were both kind of like whatever,
Yeah.
Like Inkling, cool. It makes sense. Splatoon, that's like
As
a
someone
thing
who's
that
never
they're really
played
pushing.
Splatoon, I actually really enjoyed moving around the map as Inkling.
And Ridley's there. I mean, cool, but I mean, I don't know. Ridley? I don't know.
Neither one of those character announcements speak to me necessarily.
I mean, he was cool. Like, I played as him, and he was neat. He's slow. He's got a lot of rapid fire attacks. I heard somebody describe him as being similar to Meta Knight, which I'm not versed enough in Smash to confirm that, but from what I remember from Meta Knight, that seems kind of accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little more about air control, a little more about those like quick close range attacks, and he's slow. But whatever.
Gotcha.
New Link was cool.
Yeah, New Link was pretty.
I mean,
tell me the
he's
arrow
pretty.
thing. Tell me the arrow thing.
I mean, Link is pretty much the regular Link, like Breath of the Wild Link. He's pretty much the way he's been, especially in the last game. The 2 big changes to him are that, first of all, his bombs are remote detonated now, like with the Sheikah Slate, which is kind of cool, and I feel like is a little more strategic, and it's a little easier to capitalize on those bombs by having the trigger on them.
Yeah.
But the other neat little thing is that his arrows now, if you shoot an arrow and it misses and it just like embeds in the ground, you can actually go and pick it up as an item, and then when you shoot your next arrow, you'll fire 2 arrows.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool.
I mean,
there's a lot of little details
how
here
much
that
can
I
you
think
milk
make this pretty
I
interesting.
mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can stack that at all. I think it might just do the 2 arrows, but
That'd be cool though.
I mean, it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, we can confirm. We had fun. It was funny because I had no intention, and I was like, first of all, we know about Nintendo doing this ticketed thing to play, right?
Yeah.
And we had an appointment pretty early on in the day, but we ended up, Crispy and I just kind of wandered by the Nintendo booth, and there's this big long line. And I walked up to someone, and the lady that was kind of manning the line, and I was like, just out of curiosity, is there such thing as like non-ticketed gameplay demos? Because they had made it seem like they weren't going to be letting anybody who didn't have a ticket play. And she was like, yeah, why don't you just go in now? And I was like, well, I have an appointment in like 10 minutes. And like in the middle of me saying that, Crispy just goes in between us and just like, I'm going in. And I was like, okay, fuck it. And I just like went in with him.
And I get this text message while I'm waiting in line for my game, like, perhaps Chris Davis can go and
I was like,
attend
Chris Davis, do you think you can make it to our appointment? Because we're not going to be there, I don't think. But we made it to the other one anyways. We were just like 5 minutes late.
Sorry, Greedfall.
I'm so sorry. So sorry. Let's get on to...
Oh, one more thing before we move off Smash, I would like to say. So, like, in the booth, they had a bunch of Nintendo character props in, like, museum cases.
Yeah.
Like recreation, life-size props,
Yeah.
A bunch of bullshit. It was kind of stupid. But
They had
the
the
one thing I
punching
thought
bag.
was really striking and kind of funny is they had Mario's hat. And his hat, like, their idea of like, full scale for Mario, his hat is almost as big as this table.
What?
It is fucking nuts. Like, because he's short. He's only like maybe like 4 feet tall or something, but he's so fucking cartoony and wide. Like, his head is huge. His hat's not entirely the size of this table. But if you put that hat in the middle of this table, it would take up pretty much most of the
It'd
surface.
be like the Lazy Susan in the middle of the table.
It's fucking stupid. Like how
Okay.
big that hat is. It's so cool.
You
I don't know.
heard it here-
I thought it was
You
funny.
heard it here first. Confirm Mario's got
Mario's
a
big
huge
fucking head.
All right, moving on. So we're gonna start running down the list of some of the stuff we played today, or played or saw, because obviously it's E3. Not everything here is playable, but we did see a lot of stuff. We saw some behind closed doors presentations that are definitely worth talking about, for sure. And we have our eyes set on some things we're gonna check out tomorrow and the next day. I don't know exactly which order we want to go in.
I say we follow through in just the order we played.
But we separated at some point.
I mean, we were mostly
Why don't
separate.
we get this one out of the way real quick? Because our appointment this morning, the one that I just mentioned that we almost missed, was for Focus Home Entertainment. Which we actually have another appointment with them on Thursday to see another game. But we went by their booth, Crispy and I, to see Greedfall, which is like a what would you? I feel like this is the kind of game
it's
that
a
Brad would
story-
describe as a Eurojank RPG.
Yeah, it's a Eurojank story-based action RPG.
I watched that trailer, and I still have no idea what the hell
Looked,
it is.
if you watch the cinematic trailer, it looks like it made me think of like The Witcher.
Yeah, I don't get that.
It made me think like it's some kind of adaptation of The Most Dangerous Game, except there's now a giant moose monster.
No, yeah, I don't know. He in the trailer, he wasn't. I don't think he was supposed to be hunting that person.
Here, I can read the description.
It doesn't matter. I don't know. It was a
Please
weird
read the
looking game.
description so you can tell
I mean,
us
it
exactly
looked
what it
pretty.
is.
They were running it on PC. It looked
Shut up,
pretty,
Crispy.
but-
I'm going to
but
read the description.
I think we've already spent too much time in this game. But go ahead.
Explore a fresh new world as you, alongside many other settlers,
As
mercenaries,
you.
and treasure hunters, set foot on a remote island seeping with magic and rumored to be filled with riches and lost secrets.
Yeah,
It's pretty generic, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I will say is,
I mean,
there
everything about that game was pretty generic, actually.
sure, but I will also say it struck me as Eurojank, but it didn't seem janky.
No,
or as
but
janky as I was expecting.
it didn't.
It-
but
the
in all
animations were not.
fairness-
The animations weren't like Witcher tier, obviously, but I think the world has like a really nice visual style and tone to
Yeah,
it.
the graphics were polished.
I'm not even talking about the graphics. I'm
what-
just talking about like the color palette they chose.
Sure.
Is really.
I just
nice
mean
and-
that like that demo we saw, they didn't do anything.
They didn't, and also we did go into. We were a few minutes late to the actual demo, unfortunately, and sadly, like their booth is right in the middle of the show floor. We're probably gonna have this problem with the next appointment too. The room that they put us in didn't have a roof, so you could just hear the fucking nonsense happening in the floor, like in the show hall.
Oh yeah.
Was
you
it
could-
also
I couldn't
really
hear
hot in
a
there?
word she was saying
Yeah.
as she was trying to like walk us through the demo, which is really unfortunate because I would have liked to hear it. The only thing I kind of picked up on was that it's not open world, but it is like large open areas, and they said they have like 16 really large areas to explore. And the one area he was in looked pretty massive.
But massive areas aside, are those areas interesting?
I mean, there was
Is there stuff to find and
cool-looking
do?
creatures rolling.
Dude,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it looks pretty generic
what
RPG
we saw was a village and a field.
with some monsters roaming around the field and
With a
running up
monster.
and fighting them. That was like 2 or 3 battles he
Oh,
got
there
in.
was like people there that they killed, and then a monster shows up and he fights it. Kind of basically the same. I don't know. I just it looks fine, but nothing about it reached out and grabbed me by the balls.
Sure. This is not a game that I think will grab anybody by the balls, but it might tickle my balls enough just because of the atmosphere of it that I might try it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But I feel that way about a lot of Focus Home Entertainment games, like almost their entire lineup. I'm purely interested in mostly because of the way they build atmosphere in their games.
Were they showing a Plague Tale?
Huh?
Were they showing Plague Tale or?
I didn't see a Plague Tale, but they have the Surge 2 and Call of Cthulhu. Their
that was
press
out
kit
by
even has
now.
Vampire in it because they published Vampire.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm looking. This is where Crispy got his farming simulator shirt. Yeah. Oh wait, Plague Tale's in the book. I don't know if it means they have it there, but I wanted to see that again because that game actually looked pretty cool last year. Anyways, moving right along from Plague Tale. Chris Davis,
Yes.
you went. I thought you went straight to Resident Evil today, but you didn't. You went somewhere else. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, Chris Davis?
Yeah, you want me to say it?
Where did you go?
I went to play Tom Clancy's The Division 2.
Oh my god.
Yes, I did, and it was more of an ordeal than I thought it would be. So evidently Ubisoft had not finished setting up their booth entirely, and so I get in line, and there's 16 demo kiosks, one for each presenter. So you got teams of 4, so you got 12 open spots, and so I'm in line, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and a lady comes, like 45 minutes in, a lady comes in, and right in front of me, she puts a placard up that says 90-minute wait time from this point.
After you've already been waiting like
for
an hour?
like 45 minutes. So I got in line at like 11:15. I didn't get to play the game until like 12:45, 12:50. So...
But what did you think? You played it. You finally played
honest.
it.
You know, it wasn't bad.
Hey, guys, go ahead right now. Someone can create a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something. You can start tallying Chris Davis's hours spent playing The Division. He's played... How long was your demo?
My demo was about 15 minutes.
Chris Davis
Add another quarter hour.
has officially played a quarter hour of The Division 2.
Yeah, start that.
The first of many.
There is a significant problem with this demo, and it's how they handled this demo.
Specifically the demo.
Yeah. So this was meant to show in-game characters.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an in-game character that hit level 30, you can choose a specialization. That gives them access to a special, unique weapon for a class. I got the Survivalist class, which has this explosive crossbow.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool. And I also had my skill that I had was a chemical launcher. So I fire it at it, and wherever it hits, it pulls up this gas, but it's incendiary gas. So I shoot the gas, everything in there lights on fire.
That sounds dope. What's
Really
wrong with
good
that?
for AoE stuff. Problem is, in The Division, you have 3 skills you can use. You have 2 standard skills, and then you have your signature skill. You only had access to 1 regular skill. You didn't have access to anything else. And no other player in the game, none of the characters that you played as, had a healing ability.
Oh.
So people were constantly going down left and right, because of these new AI routines. Nobody knew what they were doing, and the presenter was just running around picking people up all the time.
Wow.
It
wasn't cutting people's demos short though, right?
No, because they were timed demos.
Gotcha.
And based on completion. But
I'll say this before, I'll say it again. Timed demos are the way to demo games at E3. I think it's been really good this year. I haven't played a single thing yet or seen a single demo where it was just like, play until you beat it.
Yeah.
Timed demos are the tits.
Yeah. Well, I did learn a couple things, and I got some answers for Nolan, actually. He asked a few questions. Like the foam gun thing that we saw in the original demonstration. Turns out those are only enemy weapons.
That you can't use yourself?
As far as I can tell, I couldn't find one in the demo.
Missed opportunity.
But like he was thinking, you could actually get sprayed on various body parts, and it slows down your movement and ability to aim.
Okay.
But in turn, you can use that against the enemy because they have a huge ass backpack that carries that foam gun. So you shoot that, and it just explodes foam all over them.
That's pretty
cool.
cool.
In the area.
They get foamed.
They get foamed.
Ooh.
The new AI routines seem a lot more aggressive this time around. They've added they're calling them lieutenants. Basically, they're officers that buff their soldiers around them, and they usually come very heavily armed. So you have to actually destroy aspects of their armor in order to get to the meat underneath and actually kill them.
Gotcha.
Dude, this game is.
Are you saying
cool.
that wasn't in the first division?
There were officers, but they didn't have an effect on all the other soldiers in the field. Like the only one that would have an effect on others would be the medic, who would put down a med kit and would heal in an AoE. But there wasn't anybody else that did that. That had no effect. So that's a nice new thing. They added what are called control points to the map.
Oh god.
Those may be about districts and controlling that, but they didn't go into that. They did show the wall of the Dark Zone. There is a Dark Zone in Washington D.C.
Where is it?
It's near the Capitol. So I don't know. I don't know.
Chris-
I couldn't get it.
Look at Crispy's face when you said near the Capitol.
Like, it's this big ass fucking walled off concrete thing that feels like it's straight out of fucking World War Z or something. And they didn't show that or talk about that.
Oh. They must be
So-
keeping something close to the chest about the Dark Zone.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the same. The one thing they did that was kind of cool about the mission we played was the control point. What you're supposed to do is attack the enemy and then call in reinforcements. So that's what that flare was from the original demonstration.
Yeah.
It was you summoning civilians to come in and help you and fight, which wasn't a feature in the first game. You can choose to call them in at the beginning of the fight, but they're going to be much weaker. But you're fighting the enemy, rallies them, and gets more of them to your cause.
Gotcha.
So, I played it. It looks good. It played well. I always play with the controller, so I kind of aim like shit. But yeah, if you like Division 1, you'll like Division 2.
Did you like the Division 1, Chris Davis?
I played it a little bit.
Oh my god. Cool. I'm glad
not a
I'm
whole
glad you
lot.
got to play the Division 2.
Yeah.
I'm even curious about maybe trying to play it before the show floor ends, just to get a taste for the Division, see if it's something I'm into. We'll see what happens.
It's very pretty, I'll tell you that.
It did look good. It did look good. Did you see or close any car doors?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
You closed a car door.
Yes. That's a thing. That's always been a thing.
Oh.
You go up to a wall or a car, you take cover beside it, you walk along it, and the guy closes the door.
All right. This is okay. We're actually going to try something new here because in chat, people seem to be liking this analogy here. Chris Davis,
Yes.
did the Division 2, and I'm going to probably ask this question about most games we talk about tonight, did the Division 2 grab your balls or tickle them?
Grab seems a little violent, don't you think?
Grab you by the balls is like, oh my god, holy shit, this is amazing. I wasn't expecting
As
that.
a fan,
Or
I
did
say
it tickle them?
I say it tickled them.
You felt a slight tickle. Okay.
That it felt good, but like it wasn't there to get me all the way.
Okay, so we're gonna go with it's tickling the balls, grabbing the balls, and then maybe
Ripping them off and
yeah.
shoving them
I
down
was
your
gonna
throat.
say I don't want to go with like snipping or like severing.
Force feeding you your own severed testicles. Where's that game? Where's that game this E3?
But it's
Well, no,
not
wait, no,
there. It's called
that should be the.
Metroid Prime
I
4.
was trying to think of the analogy, like the version for like if it wasn't good, because tickling is still good. It's just like
no, just
mild
like
enthusiasm.
lightly blowing on your balls.
No, just
Not even touching them.
Just
Just
a
a
nice,
kick in the balls.
a nice light.
You're just like,
I can't do that without whistling. I was trying to,
yeah, kicks you in the balls.
but I feel like a kick in the balls could also be interpreted as a good thing. Anyways, we've talked too
What?
much about this.
Would-
Feathering in the balls
Would you
sounds
like for
nice.
your girlfriend to kick you in the balls?
Is that a thing?
Dude, oh my god.
You
Remind-
would!
dude,
You would! Oh my
remind me-
god!
no, no,
you
no,
kinky
seriously,
motherfucker!
seriously,
You're
remi-
into some weird shit, aren't you, Nick?
Crispy, after we cut this feed tonight, please remind me to tell you something about that.
Okay.
I need to hear this story.
When there's no witnesses or pants. Yeah,
Oh my god.
Robin, calm down.
Is like
No, this is not a personal story. It's just not something I really want to say on the feed.
is a cup like a major turnoff to you or
Oh my
something?
God.
Is that
Oh.
it?
Sorry, I just had chills. Ugh. Anyways, moving on. Next game, Crispy and I went and played Spider-Man. We got a nice
Fucking Spider-Man.
20-minute
Spider-Man.
free roam demo of Spider-Man. That
It was like
included
15 minutes.
swinging around the city for as long as we wanted. It was kind of barred off. You couldn't
Doing
go.
stuff.
I was trying to get to like the Empire
to
State
go to the
Building,
edge?
you know,
Yeah.
and it eventually
I was
stopped
just
me.
like, nah, fuck you.
Which is
Just
kind of nice
segment
because
portion of the city?
you know
Okay.
everybody wants to do that, and that's the kind of thing I would rather just do that in the final game. But we got to roam the city, do some you know smaller fights, and just kind of stumble across things happening in the city.
rescue cats
and then
from
there was the
trees?
option to do a mission, which ultimately led to a boss fight with the Shocker.
Shocker.
The Shocker.
Okay.
He was robbing a bank.
The Shocker. I'm the Shocker. Stupid.
So, Crispy,
It was really good.
Yeah, it was so good.
It was really, really good.
I would say without a doubt the best feeling Spider-Man swinging ever.
Yeah, the swing mechanics, like traversal, took a little bit of getting used to. There's a little bit of a rhythm, but once you got it, it's fucking great. It's so good. Like it feels really powerful. Like you really feel it when you hit the apex of your swing. You let go, and you're just like falling between over the street. And then, like, the last second, you fucking throw out a line and keep swinging. Like, it's so good. And the web zipping, so now he can do this thing where, like, while you're in midair, you can hit a button to, like, slow down time, and then you hit L2 and R2 on a certain point, and he'll hit that point with both his web shooters and, like, kind of catapult himself over buildings like that. It was really fucking
Is that
cool.
what that was?
Yes.
I never did that.
Yeah, it was a little tricky. Like, I had to figure that out.
Fuck.
It was really cool, especially since, like, you could do that catapult, and then, like, as you're flying up towards the edge of the building, there's another prompt to, like, hit X, and if you do that, he, like, shoots out another web, like, right at the last second, and, like, pulls himself even harder and just fucking launches. It's so cool. It is so cool. And then on top of that, they have the little, like, just kind of short little like pulls. So like while you're flying, this is fucking perfect for like changing direction really quickly while you're swinging. It's like while you're in the air, you can just like hit a button, he'll shoot out like whichever direction you're aiming and just kind of like pull himself in a new direction. And it is so seamless and it feels so natural. It takes like no time at all to get used to it. It's so good. If that much like care and detail went into other systems and mechanics in this game, I think it could be, you know, like Arkham level good as far as like a superhero action game goes. The combat was really fun. Dude. It was really easy to just like look like a fucking badass, but still like really engaging. Like
I love how they did the spider sense. Like you could be like pummeling a dude, and then all of a sudden, like if someone like out of your peripheral vision is like about to like shoot a gun or like try and hit you from behind, you just obviously you see the little kind of waves kind of appear above his head, and you just tap circle, and contextually depending on where the enemy is placed in conjunction or in relation to you, he'll do some kind of like flip over backwards or like pull himself between someone else's legs and like slide across the ground and just evade the attack. So like
it's really cool.
Just out of curiosity,
there was not spider vision in the game.
No, there was no.
Zero Skies in chat if there was some kind of
there was no
vision.
like there was no detective vision kind of thing, which it was funny because I was doing a fight where there was a bunch of different enemy types and like some of them had guns, some of them didn't, and I was kind of thinking like, as much as I shit on detective vision at that point, I was kind of like, man, it might be kind of nice to just have a quick bit of information of like what's going on, because you like a lot of shit in the environment in these areas is interactable.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of shit where we saw in the trailers, like in the construction site fights, where like he could just like grab something, swing it around and smash it into something, or he could pull something else down. I don't think the game needs a detective mode or whatever. I think you kind of learn to pick it up pretty quickly what's going on, but like for a minute there's a little bit of an information overload. But that just kind of, to me, that kind of just went to show that like the combat was intuitive. It was easy to get into, but it was also like tricky. It was all, like you had to be on your toes. You had to keep a sense of spatial awareness pretty importantly.
So there's a really if you've watched any of the Spider-Man movies, I think there's one thing that they do in those that I think this game captured really well. And it has a lot to do with the spider sense and doing the quick like dodge out of the way. When you time it right. Like the one scene that comes to mind is in Spider-Man 2 when he's in the bank and Dr. Octopus
and safe door at him.
Well, it's when Dr. Octopus is he has the bags of money and he's throwing it at him, and he's just like dodging like out of the way as this shit's happening, and the villain is like center of the screen. You just see him tossing shit, and you just see Spider-Man like dodging out of the way in this like really cool cinematic way. Like you can see a dude like getting ready to fire his gun, another about to throw something, whatever, and even in the boss fight when you're fighting the Shocker, he's like sitting in the middle of the room just like shooting these like beams at you, and I'm like swinging around this big circular room around the edges and like doing like hitting the dodge button right as he hits like shoots this big giant beam which like blows apart like these columns, but I'm like flipping out of the way just in time and then swinging. Like all of that shit felt so
it was
good.
Cool. It was cool. So like his special spider, like his special web moves, a lot of that was actually gadgets, and they were kind of like ammo driven.
They
So
give
like
you the
so you have like the rapid fire.
wires.
You have the rapid fire web shooters where you can just like start
Yeah.
wrapping people up. You have web bombs, which are like these sticky bombs he can stick to somebody and then it explodes in web.
And then you had
hits-
that huge like spin attack thing that was just.
Well, that is something different, but then he also has like a tripwire thing, I think.
Yeah, and that's
so,
really
like,
cool, 'cause
so he has like this whole gadget wheel with a bunch of different gadgets that he unlocks. We only had those three
you
in the
can
demo.
stick the tripwire to people, and if another dude runs, because it's motion based,
Yeah.
whatever. So normally you would stick it to a wall. If a dude runs by, it grabs him,
Right.
and pulls him to the wall.
Yeah.
But if you stick it to a dude, and then another dude runs by and triggers
Like,
it pulls them together and like knocks
Smashes
them both
them
out.
together. It's so cool. But then he has his it's called like his power suit or whatever ability.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Once you fill up a meter, you can hit L1 R1, and he does that thing where he jumps up in the air and just like starts webbing everything around him.
Okay.
Now you know what that makes me wonder, and I really hope this is the case. I'm kind of assuming they've talked a lot about having new like special suits, like a bunch of different suits to choose from. I'm wondering if each suit has their own like suit power.
Maybe.
They might.
Because that would be
Maybe
so cool.
because they specifically called it out as being like a suit power. Yeah,
Yeah.
like power suit or whatever. So that's really cool. The whole Gamerbeck
Confirmed.
apparently is confirming that.
I hope
Oh,
that
they
even
said during
applies
the
to like.
footage that
I hope
that's-
that even applies to like alternate universe suits where it's like you
Yeah.
know like the noir suit and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
If they all had some
Yeah,
kind of
it
themed
was
power.
it was
Spider.
so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just swinging around New York and,
And by
like
the way, the
like,
game is fucking
and it
gorgeous.
still has all that great stuff from like Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate Spider-Man, where there'll just be like random crimes happening around the city, and you can just like fucking drop in and take care of it. There's a bunch of collectibles, a bunch of like the kind of like the bases you're clearing out or whatever are all Fisk construction sites.
Yeah.
that are kind of part of the Kingpin's money laundering operation.
Dude, one of my favorite things that happened for me is I was just swinging through the city and I came down to the street level and I just started running along the ground and you see it like there's people walking up and down the streets, whatever, and I'm running down the streets and people are like stopping, like taking pictures and like waving at me, whatever, and I'm just running and Spider-Man just starts like throwing him like the finger signs, like and I was like that was just so
just getting that personality out there.
so good.
Now, the one thing I will say is that the demo kind of like you don't have to do this, but I did. The demo kind of leads you to an ending where you go to a bank and stop the Shocker, who's in the process of robbing the bank, and it's an indoor boss fight. And I mentioned this before when we were watching the footage from the raft. During the EA press conference of like this stuff kind of seems like it's going to be the not as fun stuff. Where they're kind of like enclosing you in these little spaces and they're just saying like, okay, you gotta go from this end to that end and fight all these dudes and then do this boss fight and that kind of thing. I kind of was getting that vibe during the Shocker fight. It wasn't that it wasn't fun. It was really cool, but it's a lot more hectic when you're trying to like, because it's like encouraging you to swing around the room and things like that, and that kind of traversal
the
mechanic,
camera can get kind of in the way.
that kind of traversal mechanic when you put it inside a room like that just gets really hectic, and on top of that, like his attacks aren't telegraphed super well, I don't feel like, and it's like trying to figure out what was going on between those two was kind of rough. I died a couple times in the Shocker fight. It was cool. It was fun. Once I finally figured out what I was doing, it was really neat. And there is some really cool things using his web slinging in combat that I like, wherein you can like you can do that little like I think it's like square. If you hit square, he just like throws out a line and pops himself up in the air. And you can use that to like pop up over bad guys and then like kick them in the head or something like that. It gives you a nice sense of air superiority, like on demand, like really quickly. So once I started messing around with things like that and getting the timing down, it was really neat. Dodging in that fight was a little less satisfying than it had been before. But you know, I mean, that's something I kind of expect from these games going into it. Like, I think that's also kind of true of Batman, with the exception of maybe the Mr. Freeze fight in City. Like any of those enclosed area boss fights are kind of more just like story things, and they're not what I love about those games. They're not like what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about why I love the Arkham series.
I will say, I do think this game animates beautifully and like is acted really well, and
God,
like I love
so pretty.
I love even if when it comes to like the cutscene when he like goes to the bank and starts confronting the Shocker, like I really enjoy watching all of the cutscenes that I've seen so far in this game.
Yeah, this game, that demo was fucking great, and I cannot fucking wait for September.
This is definitely up there as probably one of my most anticipated games for the rest of the year, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Couple quick questions before we move on. The spider sense, going back to that, it was a visual indicator, right?
Yes. It's just like the waves.
It's a very light wave.
It's exactly like it is in Batman.
Okay, so there's no like other context to which that's activated, or you can.
I mean,
tell
not that we saw. I'm sure there might be story moments where that's like a thing. I mean, that's like.
I mean, I'm thinking things like that.
I can see them using it in set piece moments, like remember the original set piece moment with the helicopter, and he's jumping through the building and everything. Yeah. Like I can imagine like doing that sequence. It's like having to time, like this is just conjecture.
Spider here. That's not what I'm talking about.
But like Spider Sense is a really like iconic part of his power set, so I'm sure it will show up in kind of contextual situations.
Well,
but as far as like what we as players were doing, just like with straight mechanics, it was just a dodge basically.
Okay. Well, I wasn't talking about like that. I was talking about like how it's conveyed to the player that the spider sense is happening.
It's just a
visual indicator.
Yes.
I was thinking like since this is an exclusive title, the PlayStation, that they do something like with the DualShock controllers, like there's
that
a
could
sound
be cool, like if it like vibrates.
Or like the touchpad lights up or something.
We honestly don't even know that it didn't do that because we were wearing headphones the whole time we were playing. But yeah, I mean that would be cool, but
that would be cool if like if they somehow trained you to like to interpret like the rumble of controller to like be your spider sense.
Yeah.
So, like anytime you feel it, just tap the button. That could be
cool.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
I mean, there was some really cool rumble feedback, like when you're swinging and you're like falling. They really make it feel like you're just like rushing towards the ground, like that. I think that kind of pushed the whole web slinging experience over the edge, and that was just as simple as putting a little filter around the edge of the screen and rumbling the controller. So who knows?
Also, anything about photography in the game?
Not yet.
Well, one of the collectibles has to do with I think
taking
picking
pictures.
up your cameras.
Yeah,
Remember how he leaves cameras around to take pictures of Spider-Man? You have to go collect your cameras.
We didn't. I mean, I didn't experience.
I didn't do that. I've read about that. I didn't
but
see that in the demo.
They've shown like the picture mode where he's like taking
and
selfies and stuff.
Any greater hints as to allies in the game?
No, nothing.
Because there was the raft, which implies shield, but
they have not implied anything. There was nothing in the demo that was implied that hasn't already been widely teased or shown.
I don't know. I could just be talking out of my ass here, but in the comics, I don't know that the raft is actually run by S.H.I.E.L.D. It might be. I don't know, though.
Who knows?
It feels like it would.
I didn't see Avengers Tower. I didn't see anything that was like immediately distinguished as the Baxter Building. Everything that I saw was pretty much Spider-Man centric, pretty Spider. Like there was like you could see one of the collectibles. I'm pretty sure
they've confirmed that Avengers Tower is in the game.
It probably is.
Yeah,
I didn't see it, but it probably is in the game.
I forgot to look for it, to be totally honest.
I didn't even think about it. But like one of the collectibles or one of the things that you're doing is like going around and finding Harry Osborn's old like research stations.
Yeah.
So I mean, every reference I've seen so far has been pretty spider centric, but who knows? Okay. I mean, I'm sure that stuff will be there. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. The point is, this game.
Yeah, it's great.
Is exciting.
It's fucking like
very exciting.
This was tops for me today. Was Spider-Man.
Cool.
That was the best.
All right, Chris Davis, I'm going to turn it back over to you for a second.
All right, SMG,
and I want you to be very careful.
Yes.
Because I do. This is like the game that I want to play the most, and I'm going to go see it first thing tomorrow.
Okay.
So maybe if there's anything particularly surprising about something that happens in the demo, maybe don't tell me about that. But tell me what you thought and how and what to expect from the Resident Evil 2 remake demo.
The Resident Evil 2 remake is essentially the best idealized version of Resident Evil 2 made in 2018.
Okay.
You
In what sense,
you
though?
take a bunch of ideas from Resident Evil in the past, you combine them all into one thing, and then you set it in this world.
And how... So, I've seen some people kind of suggest, based on things that they've shown that I haven't watched, because I'm not going to, because I'm going to play it tomorrow morning, that this is less of a one-to-one remake of Resident Evil 2 and more of a reinterpretation of Resident Evil 2.
So the demo itself,
Which would be by the way, which would be a pretty different approach to the way they remade Resident Evil 1.
yeah, Resident Evil 1 was very
more of a
faithful to the
one-to-one
original
They
design of the
called
game.
that one remake.
Yeah.
They haven't called this
Yeah.
remake.
That's true. Like
Yeah.
that is true. They have not really used remake.
Well, they're not
describe
using
it.
that word, but it essentially is. So, the Resident Evil remake, Resident Evil 1, back in 2001, it was very faithful to the original design. The only things they really brought back from what was cut of the game was Lisa Trevor and the cabin in the woods. Other than that, not much else that was that different.
Yeah.
In this, the police station itself, the map and structure of it feels very authentic to the original version. However, there
quick
are
question.
changes everywhere.
Okay. That's exciting and I think to hear about. But like, so just as someone who you have played Resident Evil 2 a lot, right?
I've beaten both scenarios.
Okay. So you walk into the police station, right? You have the main central lobby area, right?
So just to be clear, this is the demo is playing as Leon, supposedly Leon A.
Okay. So if you go, just for instance, if you go to the second door on the left and you go through it, you could expect to find
There's
the
like the
police...
entry area with like the two windows,
Yeah,
but
do
where
you-
you get the liquor scare in the
and
window.
that's the same place where you find the police officer who's injured. Does that happen in the like that? Is that
No.
kind of stuff?
No, story events like that would have cinematics.
Okay.
No, those are remixed. These are different.
Okay, so
So you start
remix.
off
You use the word remix. That's kind of interesting.
like Marvin, for example, the one of the very few police officers you find alive.
Yes, that's the one. That's the police officer I was referring to.
Yeah, you find his office, and you walk in, and he's injured and all
Yes.
that. He's completely placed differently. He helps you out in a cinematic early on in the demo. Like, it feels like they're taking all these base ideas and then just enhancing them and reworking how they were implemented.
Okay.
So you start out and
Okay. So real quick, let's not.
I-
Let's not describe the demo.
I'm not
play-
gonna
I will
describe-
say let's have this conversation again tomorrow night after
Yeah.
I've played it, and then maybe go into more detail as to what's in the demo.
Okay.
Maybe
let me back up.
Yeah,
maybe
let's work on this list
of
from Brad.
questions.
Let me back up. First off, this game feels like it plays a lot like Resident Evil 5 or 6. You've got this over the shoulder camera, not necessarily blocking everything you're seeing as much as you think it is, but it's also a hell of a lot slower. Resident Evil 6 was like on fucking steroids.
Yeah.
This is very much slower.
Which is-
like you can run technically, but it's very slow.
They're trying to find the balance between giving you the action-oriented feel of playing something like Resident Evil 5 and 6, but also still making it feel more slower, more meticulous, like the original Resident
Yeah,
Evil.
you're aiming
which
over
had
the
which
shoulder.
had the fixed camera angles.
Yeah, you're aiming over the shoulder. You have a targeting reticle, no laser. Controls little floaty a little bit, I think, but I think that's because I think you can upgrade your weapons in the game.
Okay.
They're bringing back from Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 7 ammo crafting
Okay.
because you'll find gunpowder
It seems
in the
so.
environment.
They're keeping some of the best elements of newer Resident Evils,
Yeah.
mixing it with some of the old Resident Evil,
The Resident Evil 7 inventory system is still there.
which is why I love Resident Evil 7.
With the caveat that it has the EKG meter, which is
Yeah.
to be expected from a classic Resident Evil game.
Okay, real quick. So you had said this before. You wanted to kind of answer these questions. So Brad had posted these questions to you
Yeah.
earlier. How about I play Brad for a second?
Yeah.
I read you these questions and you answer them.
Yes.
Number one, are there contextual movement options?
Now, if you're talking about like in combat, say if you were to in Resident Evil 5 or 6 shoot the knee of a zombie and they hit on the ground, you run up to it and you do the melee attack.
Yeah.
No.
I was also wondering. I interpret that question more as like, are you
The combat is
Are you
very.
are you traversing the environment by like running up to something and like pressing a button to like leap over it or anything like that? But maybe
No.
that's not what he's talking
No,
about.
it is very, very slow, very classic Resident Evil focused. Your combat is over the shoulder for firing your gun, and your knife is the exact same as it was in 4 and 5.
Okay.
But there's no crazy shooting on a zombie and just kicking them and blowing their heads off.
Okay. But
No.
can you shoot their legs and have them fall over?
Yes.
Okay.
There is dismemberment and limb rending in this game,
Okay.
which is actually very useful.
Okay. Number 2, red laser reticle. You already said no.
It is
At least from the start.
It is a targeting crosshair. It is not. There is no laser.
My guess is that you probably upgrade the weapons and get a
That's
laser
probably
later.
an enhanced weapon or an upgrade you can
That's
do.
more of a later Resident Evil thing anyways.
But there was no hints in the demo. There was no screen that said you can upgrade a weapon.
Gotcha. His third question, feels more like Resident Evil 4 or floaty and loose like Resident Evil 6?
Somewhere in between.
Okay. 'Cause
4
you already
was
used the word
pretty
floaty.
tight. 6 was very floaty. More like 5, in my opinion.
Okay. Number 5, takedowns from enemy stun, which is what you just said. No,
well,
you
number
can't.
4, melee options.
Oh,
There,
yeah.
there are no melee options.
Except for the
It's-
knife.
It's just the knife.
Yeah.
Also, there are no defensive weapons like in the remake.
See, this is so Brad and I differ pretty dramatically about what we like from our Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
He's specifically looking for those crazy moments in like Resident Evil 5 where Chris would like lean back and like punch a dude through a door.
Yeah,
and
that's
like, oh
not
shit,
here.
that's
Absolutely not here.
That's very much like a newer Resident Evil thing.
You have to understand, this is meant to be a horror game.
Yes.
There are very dark environments. The zombies are lumbering but very threatening. Ammo is precious.
Yes.
And you have to be worried about everything.
My body is
Zombies
ready.
will follow you through doors.
They will.
Yeah, so all the doors in the game are just like they were in 7. They're either you walk into them and then you slowly open it, or you press a button to open the door. But it's all in real time. There is no loading screen, nothing like
Gotcha.
that.
So that's just the thought of playing through Resident Evil 2 without having to watch the door opening animation every time. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that's cool.
I mean, that back in the day was for like a loading thing.
No,
but
I will
but it
always
built
I will
tension.
always love and treasure that.
Yeah.
But it's
the-
still cool to think about playing the game again. Like a more
There is
modern
no
version of it.
loading screen in this game,
Beautiful.
as far as I can tell. What else was he
I
asking?
don't. That pretty much covered all of Brad's questions.
The one thing I will complain about in this demo is that there is such a focus on staying true to the original design of the police station and of the corridor focus of what Resident Evil 2 and classic Resident Evils were, in that since you're over the shoulder in third person, it feels claustrophobic. Like you're not, in addition to the fact that you are very slow.
Is there a
and-
quick turn?
I didn't actually. I don't remember. Maybe.
I'll try it out. I'll see if I can find one tomorrow. I feel like
Yeah.
that's the one. Like even if you're trying to like tighten the experience and make it feel slower and more meticulous, like the one thing I think you would want to give people is the ability to do that quick turn, because like the worst thing is like, especially when you this isn't tank controls obviously, but like the one thing like
No, it's like 5 and 6. It's you move with the left stick, you aim with the right.
so you would want to be able like that like when you like wanted to turn and run the opposite direction, like doing that like awkward like and
Yeah.
now I can run.
Yeah,
like
no,
that's
it's not
really
that.
annoying. Like I would really hope
But
that
like
they
pressing down and A at the same time to do a quick turn.
Yeah.
I didn't.
or
I don't,
down on the D-pad or
I don't
something.
remember actually trying that.
He also asks, I don't know what he meant by check menu. What did?
The menu is basically ripped straight from 7. It's the same icons and everything. You get 8 item inventory slots.
And you have to manage it just the same
And
way.
you
as-
manage it
okay.
just the same way. You
Beautiful.
can move them around within the context of the menu. But yeah, it's 90% the same.
And it looks like we have someone in chat who's also at E3 and played the demo. So sounds like there is a quick turn.
Okay.
So that's good. That's good. Good. Thank you, Domukari.
Yeah, the
that.
structure of the demo, like there wasn't really that much of a need to do it past like the first area, which was where we got like our first couple jump scares.
Cool.
But yeah, the design of the police station, there's so much that's familiar about it, but from the very first second you open the door and enter it, like it feels completely different.
I'm so excited.
There's a
I'm
front
so
desk,
excited
a
this is
front
a thing.
fountain, But the environment, again, because it's in that third-person perspective, and they're staying so true to that original RE2 design, the areas feel claustrophobic and not nearly as open.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
you don't have a whole lot of room to work with, especially if you get crowded.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like.
But there are things to manage that they seem to be implementing.
Yeah.
For example, once I got a combat knife, and I was able to open up the first side area where the waiting room was. Yeah. Where you said where the liquor scare was. Yeah. I found boards, and what I could do is I could go up to a window and I could board a window up. Ooh. So zombies have a much harder time getting through. Now they will smash through glass windows if they see you, and they will follow you into rooms as far as they can remember where you are. Gotcha. But yeah, they will bust down doors. They will react in real time to gunfire and getting hit. They'll get dismembered. You can shoot off limbs.
I'm so excited.
I would honestly compare it a lot to The Evil Within, especially with shooting them in the head. It's not a guaranteed kill. There are those crit kills that will make their heads explode. Yeah. But the damage is like, it's a lot like what it was in Evil Within. It does hurt them significantly, but it does not kill them.
Did you get a chance to play with a shotgun?
No. Okay. The only weapon I had was the Matilda, which was the original pistol.
I had a feeling. I was wondering if I wonder if they're still going to do the if you shoot when they're like right up coming up on you with the shotgun, it would blow them in half, and then like their upper half would like come crawling towards you. I don't know. I'm not really.
I will say, when you get attacked by a zombie and they grab you and they start biting into you, it's a very slow animation. Yeah. But at the same time, it makes you feel very weighty. Like you're about to get eaten by a fucking zombie. It's very like foreboding.
I'm very excited.
You really want to keep your distance from them.
All right. Let's shelve this for now. I'll bring it up again tomorrow after I've had a chance to play it as well. Maybe we'll go into a little bit more detail. I'm super fucking excited. Thank you for the information. You sound like you're excited.
I'm going to be honest here. This might be my game of the show.
I'm fully anticipating it might be mine as well. We'll see what happens. Anyways, let's. I want to take a quick break actually, so I can pause the recording for a second. When we come back, we have a few more big games to talk about. We're going to talk about Dying Light 2. We're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to talk about Control. Those are the three big ones, I think. Are there any other big ones I forgot? I know we played some
Indivisible and Bloodstained.
Yeah, there's some smaller stuff in there that we're also. What did I just do? Oh, sorry. There's a few smaller things we're going to cover as well, but those are kind of the three big ones. So I'm going to pause the recording here for a second, get up, stretch my legs, and then we'll come right back. And we'll cover those last few games and wrap up. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We have a couple more games we wanted to cover. Again, if you're just joining us, we're revisiting E3 2018 show floor day one. We have a few big games to cover. We saw some stuff today. Where should we start? We have. I guess let's start with the kind of. We're going chronologically here a little bit. Crispy and I went and saw Dying Light 2 today.
Yes, you
now,
did.
Chris Davis, you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see it on Thursday.
Thursday at 5.
Geez, that's literally going to be the last thing you see.
I know. Hope I don't have to give him my booth award right then.
Well, here's the thing. If you're already talking about giving your booth award to Resident Evil 2, I might give it Dying Light. Because Dying Light for me, first of all, Dying Light, the original Dying Light for me, was absolutely one of my favorite games the year it came out. And it's one of those games I kind of regret, because that was the same year that Bloodborne came out. And I gave Bloodborne my game of the year, and then the longer I thought about it, the more I was like, fuck. I kind of wish I'd given it to Dying Light. I think Dying Light is a fantastic zombie game. It's a fantastic open world game, and it does some really cool things with environment traversal and stuff. This game, and we said this the other night because they showed this at the Microsoft press conference, and they kind of gave us a taste of what they were going for with this game. This game seems far more ambitious than I thought ever would have been possible from a sequel to this game, because the first one, I think, has a pretty basic premise. It just happens to work pretty well. But they're kind of shooting for the stars with this one in terms of like the world, how it's built, how like the politics of the world operate, and how your actions affect the world. And we finally got a good taste of that today in the demo that we saw. So, Crispy, where do you think we should start with this? As someone who's... You didn't play much of Dying Light 1, did you?
No, I played a whole bunch of it.
You did?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why you guys think I'm completely new to the series, but I played a whole bunch of the first Dying Light.
I reviewed the first game.
Words.
We talked about this a little bit, and you mentioned something that you still haven't told me what it was, but I feel like that demo was really cool. It was really in depth. It didn't show us anything that the gameplay reveal that we saw the other night had shown us. It kind of just like got into more details around that particular mission.
First of all, I disagree with you wholeheartedly there, because we didn't see a single zombie in the original trailer we saw for this game.
Right, okay, so the one thing that was different was that they acknowledged that there are some zombies out in the day.
That's not at all.
And that they're weak.
No.
Okay.
So...
And that you can find the hives, like their nests, where
First
the
of all,
dark zones where they
this
sleep
is what
at
I was referring
Dark
to.
Zones.
Yeah,
What
they're
is-
just like these little...
The zombies in this game work differently than the zombies in Dying Light 1. And I think that may not seem like a big deal to you. It seems like a pretty big deal to me. Especially, I think it just, in general, it makes the zombies more interesting as like an enemy.
But they're not that different.
They are different. Zombies, in the first Dying Light, zombies operated the same in the day as they did at night. There were just more of them at night. In this game, zombies can't go out in the sun, or they basically just become like weak, just like...
I mean, yeah, but that I don't think that really changes your player experience that much, because in the first game there was less of them, but they were still zombies. Like, I mean, maybe they were a little faster in the first game, but it was still like you kind of had to be wary. Like, you had to be aware of where zombies were, but they weren't really a threat. And then at night it was like really scary, and there was more of them, and there was faster ones that hunted you and chased you. What I'm saying is I don't think it's that different. I don't
this
think
is
it's
where
really
I think we could argue about this, and I don't really want to argue about it. It's just, I know
I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, the specific demo we saw. Like, I'm not...
First of all, let me describe what we saw, because to me this was a huge deal, and I was immediately like floored by this.
Yeah, I'm confused about what's going on.
The zombies in this game, during the day, they find dark places and they hide there. In fact, they like hibernate. They sleep.
Yeah.
If they go out into the daylight, like bright sun, they literally wither, and to the point where they're just like Resident Evil 1 zombies, where they like barely shuffle along super slow. They're barely a threat to you at all.
Okay.
At
so
night,
no more like running screamers or something like that.
not during the day.
Yeah.
During the day, they fight. So in this demo, it took place primarily during the day. He's going through this like alleyway, and he's trying to avoid these bandits up ahead. So, these guys that were basically, they were beating up some dude, and he's like, I don't want to deal with these human characters right now, so I'm gonna cut through this building. And he ducks through the side building, and he finds this like broken down like hotel or something, or a storefront he was in, and he goes into this room, and there's all of these. The room is filled with zombies, and they're all like asleep, and they're kind of like twitching and like making noises and shit, and you have to navigate the room to get through them without waking them up.
Delightful.
Huh?
It's straight out of a scene of I Am Legend.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
It is exactly what it is.
And I mean, that's a cool mechanic, because it's one of those things where those areas tend to have better loot, and you want to explore them, but it's really dangerous to do that in the middle of the day, because it's a nest of zombies. So, you know, you make note of it and come back at night when the nest is empty. That's cool. That's really cool.
And actually, you know what it actually...
But let me tell you what kind of an unforeseen thing I see with this being, that like maybe you haven't really thought of yet, is that the reason they're doing this is because during the day, you're really not going to be fighting zombies. You're going to be fighting other people. And let me tell you something. that combat system, if most of your combat during the day is fighting other people, that's not going to be that fun.
Dude, I loved the combat.
I don't think that. I think
loved it.
I think that combat system is really good for fighting zombies. I think
some of my favorite combat scenarios in the first one were fighting people.
What we saw a lot of in that demo was like For Honor style melee first person combat, and I think that's in and of itself kind of a tricky thing to do. And I could see that getting to be tedious.
First of all, there is no SMG. There is no gunplay in this game. You don't use guns. In fact, the term they were using was modern Dark Ages. So like everything in this game is melee.
They said basically medieval weaponry is what you're going to be restricted to. So
no guns.
So
the look on Chris Davis's face right now is hilarious.
No, I'm just thinking about how I fought humans when I was playing Dying Light 1.
This is supposedly like 15 to 20 years after the events of the original one.
Yeah.
And we've continued down this path to the point where like the world is degraded enough that like weapons, we never got back to that point where we can mass produce weapons and ammunition, so everything kind of eventually just fizzled out.
I'm just picturing a scenario, if they're doing that, then guns are definitely in the game, but they're like super powerful.
Somebody asked him directly if there's guns in the game, and he said
they said
only
no.
melee.
he dodged.
Only melee.
He dodged a little bit.
He did dodge a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if
there's probably like you're gonna go someplace and find a high level gun somewhere, and then it's gonna be like, you know, you maybe see like a couple guns late in the game.
Yeah.
But the only kind of like projectile weaponry you're probably gonna be playing with most of the time would be like bows and arrows.
Okay. Well, if all the
Which
then
is
I would
fine.
hope that
I feel like I'm outnumbered here, but
No, you're not.
if 98 to 99% of the weapon variety in the game is melee weapons, I would hope they would increase the variety of what's fine. Because all there really
Probably.
was in the first game were like axes and like modified like torches and
Well, guess what?
but there wasn't like any spears. There were sledgehammers.
Well, they had spears. They had
Yeah,
one
he
part
actually
where
he actually
picked
picks
up a spear and threw it at somebody.
Okay.
Everything else that we saw though was axes and maces, basically.
Okay.
We didn't really see, but there was only like 2 or 3 combat encounters, and
Okay.
he kind of just ran away from most of them because he was fighting dudes, and like I kind of think fighting dudes in this game sucks.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, Nick. I just
so
feel like
outnumbered right here. I love the melee combat. in
no,
Dying
the
Light.
melee combat is really satisfying when you're mowing down zombies. I just think the whole like block, like getting knocked down, like doing the little dance with the guy
But
thing.
when you get good at it, it feels so satisfying, especially when you combine it with the parkour skills and everything. Like that's like when you start to get to the point where you're like
I'm just
jumping
saying-
over walls and like attacking dudes from above and then like flipping like all that shit.
I'm not
is
saying
so
it's
good.
unplayable. I'm just saying it better be good because I bet that's going to be half your time playing this
Probably
game, at least.
But I welcome it. I spent 40 to 50 hours playing this game, and it got to the point where I got so good at like doing the parkour and stuff that like it was just.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, I suppose, but like if you push through that initial like learning curve, it gets to a point where like. It is the same as
I just don't think that what like you're talking about it like it's a super nuanced thing that you have to get a feel for, and I don't think that's what it is. I feel like it's more like I just have to learn where the jank is, you know, kind of
I
thing.
don't think I never really thought of it as that janky.
I mean, that first game is great. Don't get me wrong, but to say that game is not without a significant dose of jank is
Well, I didn't say it doesn't have jank.
incorrect.
The combat in particular, I've
Okay.
always felt really nice.
Let me ask the biggest question I could possibly ask this game:
Okay.
grappling hook.
They didn't show
we
grappling.
we didn't hear anything about
A
that.
game that vertical
Dude,
and
they're-
they're not showing
Well,
that.
I'm
They're-
sure.
I'm sure there's going to be a
going
grappling hook.
Okay.
It's so vertical, there's going to be a grappling hook.
I'm just saying that was game changing.
The new feature
halfway
that
through
they've
Dying
kind of
Light.
focused on in this game has to do with careful navigation when like parkouring up like in this particular demo he like tries scaling like this like large like water tower
Well,
on
the
the
water
inside.
tower
Yeah.
from the gameplay reveal that we saw, you see how he gets up there,
Okay.
and the whole thing is a platforming puzzle.
But you
Okay.
have a limited amount of stamina, and every single move you make while you're trying to traverse this, whether it's like shimmying across a ledge or jumping backwards and grabbing onto something, everything you do takes away from that ultimate stamina meter. And when you run out, you lose your grip and you fall.
And
So there's like he's like trying to get to like go around the interior of this giant water tower, and you literally there's different routes you can take, but you have to like look at it and like pick every single move you make carefully before you make it. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough stamina to get
It also, I don't know if you noticed, but it also decreases while you're just standing still too.
Yeah, so there's added like pressure to like move quicker.
I think is a mistake, but
That's
it is what it is.
It's
it
probably
is
upgradable.
But the thing is, they've expanded this whole stamina system, right? It's more important and it's more present than it was in the first game, which tells me that if there is grappling hooks in this game, that's gonna be another late game thing,
potentially,
because that like that grappling hook potentially could be more helpful in this game than it was in the first one.
I don't think I saw anything in this demo that seemed to me like this game was taking a step backwards. So
no, I'm not saying that.
To think that there wouldn't be a grappling hook in this game, I think is ridiculous.
I'm not saying that there's not going to be a grappling hook, but I'm saying you might have to play for another 20 hours before you get it.
I mean, I don't want them to just give it to me right out of the gate.
Dude, by the time I got to the point where there was a grappling hook, I was done with the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a really cool mechanic, and I just wish that they got you there easier. You know, not easier, but like I just wish that it wasn't locked behind 30 hours of gameplay to get to it.
It should have been a thing that you got in the first game as soon as you got to the old town.
And it just, keep in mind, they're doing the stamina thing, and like they said, there's twice as many parkour moves as there were in the first game. So like the parkour system has been significantly amped up. So for them to have all of this change and all of this redesign devoted to parkour, and then for them to just like at 10 hours go, here's a grappling hook, is insane. Like is not going to happen, I feel like.
Let me switch gears. I want to ask this question. Part of the motivation for your character in Haran in the first game was that you became infected.
There's nothing related to that.
They didn't tell us anything about the story.
So there's nothing about like vaccination.
Nothing about
we don't know anything about who you play. We don't know anything.
Fact that I think that sounded like Nolan North.
It's 50 years after the infection.
No, I think it's 15 years.
Yeah, 15 I thought he said 50.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm just talking about like, is your character infected? Do you have to manage
as far as I can tell, no.
There's no Zombrex mechanic, basically.
No. All like this whole demo was focused on the world.
Okay.
Basically.
And they did show like the branching path, like how you make one decision, it might prompt one faction to move in and like give you additional benefits, like you're faced with the option of like killing these two guys to avenge the death of this like scout, or you can like make a deal with them. If you avenge their death, like it makes these like law enforcers faction like move into the city, and like they'll start like during the day they'll start like clearing out like criminals off the street. They actually will go into like nests, zombie nests, and like clear them out for you, so you can like navigate without having to worry about avoiding the zombies. But they like rule the city with like an iron fist, and they treat people poorly.
They're
and all
fascists.
This shit. Okay. Yeah. So it's a trade-off, and like they show, and then they kind of like show you in the demo. They showed you the alternate route where, you made the alternate decision, and instead people like there's not enough water in the city to like for all the people, so like these people open this business and they're selling water, charging people for it and like hoarding it and stuff.
Like what they were showing at Microsoft.
Right. So, yeah, some people are.
But they also showed that because you made a deal with those guys, they now like cut you into their profits.
Yeah.
So you just go back to them every once in a while and they give you more money. And one of the other some of the other changes they were talking about was because that particular version of the world was more chaotic. There was things like a giant black market that's springs up in the middle of the city that you can go and buy like really powerful weapons and armor from. Okay. So it's kind of like bad either way, really. It's just like kind of what specific benefits you want.
Like everything, like it's.
They did not show any weapon customization at all.
No.
They didn't show anything mechanically really new.
That's what I keep saying. Like I. Never mind.
The Dark Zones.
No, I'm still stuck. The zombie thing I think is a big deal. I think the zombie thing is a big deal.
They're different. It's fine, but like I really think that zombies in general are gonna kind of take a back seat in this game.
I don't know. The thing is, it has a day-night cycle. I think at night.
Well, if the day-night cycle works anything like it did in the first game, and you're like going to safe house, like, dude, I just didn't play at night. Like,
well, I think
I
think that's maybe
That's
one
like
reason
kind
why
of
you're
a
not as
huge-
thrilled about maybe the sequel as some other people, because I feel like playing at night is exactly what makes that game like one of the most thrilling zombie games I've ever played.
No, I mean, it's cool that they're like adding incentive to go do things at night now, because like I didn't feel that at all in the first game.
The only purpose of doing night was for double XP, and that was really about it.
Right. It was like this kind of oblique, you can level up faster, but I mean, okay, I don't.
Why not just go back
And
to
there were
your
certain-
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
there are
not
certain
like
missions and
I'm
stuff
not
that
trying to
require you to go out
min
at night.
max fucking Dying Light. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's neat that they have specific objectives locked behind nighttime, but to say that that was like that I missed the core experience of the game because I just got tired of playing at night, I think is a little giving them a little too much credit. But
well, so expand on the night play. What
They didn't
is-
show any night play.
Okay, no night play.
At the demo ended with like the sun setting, and you start to see all the UV lights turning on and
Okay,
stuff.
okay.
But like, they didn't show any gameplay.
Okay.
Like Crispy said, it's focused mostly on the world and how your choices impact the world. And
Okay.
then they showed kind of the difference in how zombies work.
Okay, then
which
let me ask this. Then we can branch out and like talk about like mechanics and things like that.
Well, we've probably spent too much time talking about Dying Light already.
I mean, just a few quick things.
Okay.
What is the role of your character in this game?
we have no idea.
We have no
they
idea.
did not
There's
talk
no
about the character
context
at all.
whatsoever.
Okay. What is the incentive, if at all, to clear out zombie nests?
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
Okay.
The one thing that they said was that the zombie nests usually will have higher level loot,
Okay.
but you don't have to clear them out. It like
You
like
just
the
had to
game
get in there.
doesn't like the way they were presenting the game and the way they were talking about it is like you don't want to fight anything. You don't want to fight if you don't have to.
Yeah.
What you want to do is sneak, and if you engage more than 2 people at a time, you want to probably run away.
Okay. All right. And then on the macro level, I mean, you're obviously part of a community of survivors, right?
I mean,
Are you doing any survivor management? Are you doing
no,
anything?
it's not
Nothing
like
like that was in the
you are
demo.
not like a leader of anybody or anything.
As
You're
far
just
as-
kind
okay.
of there in this world that already exists.
Okay.
And you're
They did basically
You're-
say that like your only interest in this world is basically to
survive.
There are
'Cause
other
there's no law,
factions,
there's no
yeah.
like there's no real like overarching system of government. Like all these different factions have kind of separated themselves out.
Yeah.
I did ask some questions about the world, and they did confirm that the entire game takes place in the city, in this one giant sprawling city. So like, don't expect
Okay.
fields like the following. You're not going to be driving around in buggies. The whole game takes place. He did say the game is like 3 to 4 times bigger than the entirety of Dying Light: The Following.
That's
But
a big
the
fucking
entire
map.
thing is a city, and it's incredibly vertical.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a departure there.
I would just hope there would be variety environments then.
I mean, there are different parts, subsections of the town and whatnot, and I'm sure those are going to look different, but you're not going to be going out into like farmlands or
No,
anything.
but like a city park or like a,
Yeah,
a
there will be
stadium.
plenty
or
of that.
something.
There
there's
will-
different
Okay.
districts.
The,
or
the
whatever.
city
Okay.
looks massive. The landmarks that you could see just from him like scouting the world and looking out, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to explore.
I guess I'm really just gonna have to see this in person because
Yes.
The-
I'm
what
sorry
you're
I'm not doing a good enough
describing,
job
it doesn't-
selling it. I'm
You're not selling.
I'm
it.
basing-
We are talking about the exact same thing. We're talking about the exact same game. We're both saying things that are absolutely true. You just have a personal connection to this game.
I'm
Yeah.
just basing my impressions of what y'all are talking about based on playing State of Decay 2 recently and all the meta and survival mechanics
this
there.
is
Totally
not.
different
Yeah,
thing
this
than
is
that.
not.
Yeah.
There's no meta. There's no
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, it's. I don't know. It's-
that game is kind of just on my mind right now and
gotcha.
I think
influencing my
it's
questions.
gonna be fun
So.
running around the city doing parkour and things like that. It's gonna be fun.
He did show a lot of new
completing quests.
parkour moves and stuff that looked pretty cool. And one thing he was doing a lot of was like there'd be like smokestacks and stuff that are coming out of houses and whatnot, and he was like
Yeah.
leaping from one to the next, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff.
It was neat, but like what I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying is there's not enough information to be like maximum hype yet, because we don't know how anything besides like the world basically works.
Okay.
I mean,
And
I will
what's-
say, as a fan of the first game, like this was more than I don't feel like I really need to see much more.
No, I mean-
before I'm pretty much sold on it personally. I could see maybe if someone who's never played
okay,
the series.
but I
and
mean
he's-
like
wants a reason to play for the first time, maybe not.
But I mean, if they put a logo up on screen that said Dying Light 2, I mean, you probably would.
I mean, I was gonna be interested. I was
Like-
gonna be interested, of course, but like this is, like I said earlier, this is like far more ambitious than I expected.
Okay.
Far more ambitious.
All right. Well, let's move on.
just-
Let's move
yeah,
on.
I just don't.
We got other things to talk about.
What do we want to talk about next? Cyberpunk. You want to hear about Cyberpunk?
Yeah, tell us
I
about.
feel
it.
like the Dying Light 2 conversation took the wind out of my sails.
Why?
I don't know, man.
Nick.
I don't know,
you
man.
You cannot expect Dying Light to be the game that everyone is gonna genuflect to. Like that is just not ever what Dying Light is gonna be.
Well, how about we do?
I know you guys really fucking love that game. I know like there are people in our community who really fucking love that game. That's not the one to be converting people to, though, is all I'm saying. It looks really fun. I'm gonna play it when it comes out, and I'm probably gonna do the same thing I did with the first one, put 30 or 40 hours into it, and then not play it again. I mean, and that's fine. That's probably exactly where that game needs to be.
that's honest.
Like it's cool. Don't let that kill your buzz or anything.
Well, why don't we come back to Cyberpunk at the end and let's work through everything else we worked on?
All right, let's talk about the stuff we saw at 505 then.
Yes,
Okay.
because we saw some pretty fucking cool stuff. How about Control?
It's pretty.
We saw Control, which is the new game announced by Remedy. Sorry, I'm just distracted.
You play as this woman named Jessie. Basically, through circumstances of
First of all, let
Unknown
me just say
mention.
this right now. I don't know how. I don't think it's necessarily a good idea to focus on what this game is about when trying to explain it.
I
to
think you
people.
kind of have to give at least a few basics.
It's.
So there's
Are you
this.
talking about the story?
Yeah, like
Because
the
it's
setup of this game is like super obtuse and
it's not. It's SCP containment. Like it's.
It kind of
It's
is, yeah.
Warehouse 13.
Yeah.
It's a spooky government facility that has a lot of weird artifacts in it, and you are in that facility.
You've basically been inadvertently promoted to the director of this agency, this government agency.
Federal
Which doesn't
Bureau of
mean
Control.
anything.
There's this supernatural force called the Hiss
Mm-hmm.
that is basically affecting events around the world, and they attack your home base, which is called the Oldest House.
Is it the old
I think it was the Aldous house. Like Aldous.
No, it was Oldest.
Once again, it was kind
Sam
of
Lake
difficult to hear
tweeted
exactly
that.
what she was saying.
What?
Yeah, Sam Lake tweeted that. The Oldest House.
Oh,
As an age.
Wow, that's dumb.
I mean, everything. There's a lot of obtuse things about this game. It delves heavily into non-Euclidean architecture, so it feels very disjointed. It's a Metroidvania, from what we
Okay.
understand. That being said,
No, I don't think it's fair to say that, but okay.
they said Metroidvania elements.
I know they said that. I know they did. I don't think they know what that is.
This is falling apart.
No, it's just like what it's gonna be is you get new powers and then there's like a door you can open again. That's not necessarily Metroidvania. That's not like that's not like encouraging to explore every nook and cranny of a very nebulous environment
But
to
you
find
also,
power
it totally
ups.
could be that. We don't know.
Absolutely
It
could.
It could, but like what I'm saying is like there's some very distinct elements to that whole thing that this game definitely doesn't have. Like that, like there's not, like Metroidvania is more than just finding the red key for the red door. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's also about like exploring everything because every little space of screen that you haven't touched might have a new energy tank in it or might have a new missile pod in it
Yeah.
or something like that to increase a gradual but like very long curve of progression.
But at this point,
I
we
would not go into this game expecting to find that. I mean, this is Remedy. I think we know what we're getting here. You know? I mean, it's going to be a story-based shooter with powers, and that's cool. That's awesome. But like I don't think it's going to be much more than that. I
Okay.
mean, it looks really neat. The story looks really intriguing. The visuals are fucking crazy. The visuals are like really neat to look at.
yeah.
But this is going to be a Remedy story-based shooter. I mean, that's okay.
And
Right?
that's fine.
Right?
I mean-
is that okay? Like,
I mean, I guess, but I think what I took away from it, what excited me about it was that this game seems like it has a lot more in common with Alan Wake than it does with Quantum Break.
Okay.
In that it's really leaning into that like really pseudo creepy,
almost dreamlike
narrative, and there's a lot of like weird trippy shit. There was a lot of situations that reminded me a lot of like The Evil Within, actually, where you walk into a room and you pull, like she like walked into a room and she pulled the light switch, the light went out, it went black, and then when she pulled it again, it came on and the room was totally different. That kind of shit. She did name drop the word Metroidvania when she was talking about it, and I tried to get her to kind of like expand upon that a little bit when we were in the Q&A session at the end, but she didn't really go. She didn't really tell me anything that she hadn't already said.
We saw 4 games by 505, and 3 of them specifically called out quote-unquote Metroidvania, and only one of them was actually a Metroidvania.
Yes, and that's the one you would expect.
So, I mean, them saying that word means nothing.
I will say this. They did talk about how you're going to find lots of different like abilities, and you can customize and come up with different combinations of those abilities to help you navigate this world. And it seemed like she was implying there's going to be lots of backtracking and going through, getting abilities that let you get into other areas you couldn't before. But how deep that rabbit hole goes, we don't really know. I tried to get her to go into more detail.
The interesting thing about it is that it seems like they're doing a non-linear structure with the game world, which is cool because the house
it's like shifting and changing.
They're calling it a house. I mean, it's not like it's this crazy like underground military like
facility
not even, like sci-fi facility. Yeah, it looks like fucking Hypercube or something like that. It is really weird and really interesting looking, but apparently it's kind of like a hub-based thing. So like there's a center area that's more stabilized where things don't change, and then the farther out you go, which to me, if you're describing it like that, kind of sounds like a wheel with like spokes.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like there's probably a bunch of dead-ending paths that branch out from that one area that as you go out get more story involved and get more shifty and weird and might change or something like that. I mean, they said a lot of things, and they did not show anything to support any of it. So, I mean, I don't really know how far to take that.
They did show one ability, which was levitate, which literally lets her, like, float. And what I liked about it was that, like, the entire animation for her doing this float, was like, and it looked like you were kind of steering her through the air while you're levitating. It looked very unsteady. Like, she was kind of like, how does this work? Like, which I'm sure is intentional, and it probably isn't really reflected in the way the game controls necessarily. Yeah. But she was using it in conjunction with like platforming, and also when she was doing combat. So like she would be like shooting guns, and like she would pull up like she can like yank things out of the environment to create these like shields in front of her. Like she can like pull rocks out of the wall.
Yeah, chunks of concrete.
Like every time she did it, it was rubble that she was pulling up out of the ground. Yeah. Okay, so let's be clear on that. But yeah, it was like
yeah, she would pull it up. She would use it as a shield, and then she would be able to launch it.
It was a lot of like telekinesis stuff. So it was like she could shield, she could grab things in the environment and throw them, and she could levitate. She could do that, and her gun transforms.
Yeah.
So like it had like a pistol mode, and it had a shotgun mode, and I think that's all we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool stuff. Nothing really crazy, but cool.
No,
interesting.
In that regard.
And the thing I was saying about this game earlier, which, I mean, I don't know. I think I know how you feel about this, Nick. But like, it is such a cool idea and a cool environment and like just a really neat like space to take a game. And I don't necessarily understand the instinct to just slap a gun in her hand. You know what I mean? Like, she's got all these really weird powers. She's in this really weird space. Half of what we saw in the game wasn't even, like, human enemies. It was, like, ghosts or, like, whatever this hiss thing is.
There's all these, like, people, like, employees that work inside this facility, and some of them are corrupted and some of them aren't. But it seems like the ones that aren't corrupted can't see you or something. Like, they don't even acknowledge your presence. But sometimes they'll, like, stop and look at you, and, like, you're, like... She was doing this thing where she was, like, she was kind of unsure. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, they would just, like, boom, like, attack her in the middle of it, which was kind of interesting. I don't know if that's, like, dynamic, if that changes from time to time, or if that's purely all scripted. It probably is, but it seemed interesting. Now, yeah, they slapped a gun in her hand. They made it a shooter, and I know to some that probably comes across as like Remedy made another shooter, but like Remedy's been making shooters since Max Payne, and like that's kind of their bread and butter. Like, every single game they've made, whether you like it or not, has been a really good shooter.
It's not a risk. It is.
They don't take risks with their mechanics necessarily, but they take risks. Like every single game has been dramatically different than the last in terms of like concept, presentation. Everything has been. Nothing is aside from like the core base mechanic, which has been like third-person shooting with like the crazy bullet time, like alterations to the bullet time stuff.
Yeah.
Which is always fun, always great. But everything around it has always been dramatically different.
I know, and I think that's a little tragic. I think they do take a lot of really crazy risks with their stories and their presentation and like their overall meta concept for their projects. I think that is where they take risks. But the core that they're building around this is the same thing. And I think I mean, feel free to disagree with me, but I think Quantum Break suffered from the same thing. I think if that game had been a little more than just another third-person shooter, maybe the risks they were actually taking would have paid off a little better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, putting it on Xbox, that was
sure, but I also
exclusive, right?
I also feel
Quantum
like
Break?
Yeah, like Microsoft exclusive or something.
Yeah,
I try to envision
help,
any
but
one of their games doing something other than being a third-person shooter, and it, no matter what I come up with in my head, it always sounds immediately less interesting to me. Like the falling back on the action element of it is always what kind of I think elevates their games.
You can have action games that don't have guns in them, you know, especially when the whole hook is your character has supernatural powers. Oh my god, you can do anything with that. And in fact, like I think the spread of powers they showed us was kind of tame. They were cool. And they worked in really visually interesting and mechanically interesting ways, but there was nothing new going on there. I'm just saying, like I kind of wish somebody who, like I kind of wish there was somebody there who kind of like had the balls to say like, look, let's just do something different. We have this really cool narrative idea. Like the diegesis of this fucking story is really fucking cool. Is really neat. This environment we came up with is really cool. Let's do something other than just like another third-person shooter, which, you know, I'm probably going to play the game and really enjoy it. Quantum Break was just another third-person shooter, but it was a really good third-person shooter. It was really fun, really satisfying mechanics. Gunplay was good.
With that game were narrative-based.
They were. They're, well, not just narrative-based, but I mean, I would say not necessarily narrative. The story was pretty conventional, but the way they presented it and the way that the game was framed and how they put it out there was a huge risk, was really interesting, you know? This game is a cipher right now. You know, it's just this kind of box of weird images that we're looking at and hoping is going to be something worthy of all this interest and intrigue we're putting into it. I don't think we've seen anything that necessarily warrants that yet, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean, it's completely new IP. We know nothing about it except that it's Remedy, and we know Remedy, and they're a pretty known quantity, you know?
Yeah.
So I think yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think Remedy is a lot like Quantic Dream in the sense that, like, Sam Lake is, like, kind of the lead writer and conceptualizer, if you will, of all of their projects, where David Cage is kind of at the center of Quantic Dream as a studio, and all of his games share a very common thread. I think Remedy in the same. I hate to compare them necessarily to David Cage and Quantic Dream, but like they have a lot. They too have a very similar narrative thread that ties all of their projects together.
Yeah.
Even if the larger concept is different from time to time. I don't know.
I mean, I will say the whole Warehouse 13 thing, like the whole pastiche of the game, the whole concept of this like weird place that collects unexplained artifacts is a cool concept, and it looks like they're pushing it to the nines, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I am so much more excited about this game from a narrative standpoint than I am a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah.
That's
And I
fair.
just kind of wish that the gameplay was like up there with
Sure.
it, you know?
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah.
We do need to move on because we have a couple more things. We wanna
Several
talk about.
more.
Can we just cover the other two
Really quick.
505 games really quickly because we haven't even gotten
Well,
to
We
Cyberpunk
have
yet.
Bloodstained.
Yeah,
We
Bloodstained,
played
we
Bloodstained.
played before.
We played
There's
that was
a-
actually my first time getting my hands on a controller. for
There's a
Bloodstained.
new backer demo coming out next week. That's what we played. It's an expansion on the demo from last year. It adds a new boss, some new areas.
Guys,
It was cool.
It's good.
It's
Are you talking about
floaty.
Bloodstained?
Yeah.
yeah.
No?
I'm a little worried about this, guys.
More.
Everything feels so sluggish.
Yeah.
She runs really slow.
It's the
she
it's
had
the first level of the game.
There was no like, I was really kind of put off, and this might just be indicative of like the genre as a whole, I guess. But I feel like I've played other Metroidvanias that like feel a lot better than this. Like her
Dude.
like only being able to attack what's directly in front of you, and like
Okay.
not having.
Did
any
you
control
open your
over how-
inventory at all?
Yeah, I
Okay,
went through
and you
all.
changed
I
all your
changed her
weapons?
outfits. I gave her
Because
a spear.
those
the spear was better.
different those different weapons had completely different effect.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this was the opening of an Egavania. Okay,
Sure.
Go back and play Symphony of the Night again,
Don't
and
get me
get
wrong, I'm
past
still
the
gonna
part
play
where
this.
Alucard loses all of his shit, and then you're back to like square one Alucard.
Like
It feels a lot like
I feel
that.
like this game would have benefited though by
It
letting
feels
you
a
play
lot
something a
like
little bit farther in the game, so I can get a feel for like.
well,
For
did
sure.
you? I mean, there was that
Feeling
option.
powerful.
we know
You
we,
started from the beginning of the game.
No, I jumped to the midpoint where he said this is where the demo.
Well, that's
picks up
the
from last year.
that's the boss from the first level of the game, from like
Yeah.
the first area.
And then I
so
have to-
that boss fight's like 20 minutes into the game,
Yeah.
and then it opens up a new area where you actually start to like get some infrastructure built up. You get like your shops and there's like the alchemist now, where you
Yeah.
have this whole like crafting mechanic where you're finding items in the game and
Yeah.
combining them, and making it like it's cool, man. Like this. It felt really Castlevania to me. I do agree. She felt really sluggish and floaty, and I'm pretty sure that I remember feeling that way about every Castlevania or every Egavania that I've played, and that is just kind of like it's got to kind of suck a little bit in the beginning so that it feels fucking amazing later
I
on
hope
when you're like
right.
a god.
I'm sure.
I'm
you're
just
right.
saying, like this is kind of like known quantity stuff. Like I don't think this is really.
I totally just feel like this is like the demo last year. I felt the exact same way because I remember watching you playing it at E3 last year, and then I kind of expected it to be given a new demo where some of those problems had been ironed out, but it didn't really feel like that. I feel like it probably would have benefited from maybe letting you play it a little bit further into the game where you have some
Yeah, like
different
4 or 5
stuff.
hours.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
to where you start to feel a little bit more powerful.
But what we played again, this demo is the first hour of the game.
Yeah.
So you are going to feel sluggish. You are going to feel underpowered. But for like that mid game save that they provided to fight the second boss with,
Yeah.
like you go through the inventory screen and you've got like a dozen or so different weapons you can choose from. There's a half dozen different spells you can learn and use. I mean, there's variety to experiment with there, and we just didn't have time
Really
to really
cool
do
stuff.
that.
Yeah, no, I'm
Plus
I'm into it.
that whole soul system from the from
You
the
were,
Game
like,
Boy
taking their
Advance.
abilities and stuff?
Yeah, where you're like killing enemies and you capture their souls, and that gives you like new magic abilities.
Yeah.
That shit is that was fucking dope when Castlevania did it, and it's really fucking.
I mean, I
dope
found
here.
like 7 or 8 of them off various enemies.
Aria, yeah, Dawn of Sorrow and Aria of Sorrow. Thank you, God.
So yeah,
So
we
fucking
played
lit.
that seems pretty cool. It says that they said they're going to be announcing a release window in the next couple months.
Yeah.
So we'll find out more
But
about
that
soon.
demo again is coming out for all backers next week.
Yes. And the last game we probably want to talk about from 505 is Indivisible, which is that game that I always forget I've seen before when it comes up in the podcast. But I've finally seen it and played it, and that game's really cool.
I was into it.
That was
pretty
really
cool.
cool. The guy who was kind of describing it compared it to Valkyrie Profile in terms of its combat, because you have four. It's a side-scrolling platformer that kind of like fades into like an RPG when you get to combat, and then when you're in combat, it feels like Valkyrie Profile in that you have 4 characters on screen. Each one's mapped to a face button, and you're managing all of their active
Attacks,
time
yeah.
or their ATB
Yeah,
meters.
I
and, like,
never played Valkyrie Profile, so this was a complete learning experience for me.
yeah, I mean, I haven't played much of that either, so this this is definitely kind of new for me as well. But it felt really nice. It looks beautiful. I can already tell I kind of like the character. I'm hoping, because there's like 23 playable characters in the game, and they give you like 3 or 4 of them in the demo, and I'm wondering if this is for demo purposes, but like you literally just come across characters randomly in the level,
and there was no introduction,
and then there's no introduction, no context for why they're joining you. They just like
I'm 95% certain that's a demo thing.
No, this like that was the one thing. Like the mechanics, I think, are the only thing we can really take away from that demo, and the mechanics felt really cool.
Yeah.
The demo itself was super fucking demo-y, and it's really hard to get a sense of like what the actual game world's gonna be like. Is there gonna be a lot of like branching paths? Is there gonna be a lot of secrets? Is there gonna, like they said, Metroidvania? I mean, do they fucking mean that? I kind of doubt it.
I mean,
it seems kind of hard to make.
It also
I
like
found
story. We
that.
didn't get a taste of any story at all.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and this feels like it's gonna be kind of like one of those games, like almost like a Bioware RPG, where like a lot of what is really gonna be memorable narratively and story wise is gonna be the characters and their interactions with each other, and we didn't get any of that in the demo. So it's really difficult to kind of. We didn't get that in any meaningful way in the demo.
We got a sample of the writing and the interaction between characters. And it's
we
cute.
saw that, but we didn't see. Okay. Yes. The writing. They can be witty with the writing. That we know. The mechanics are really tight. They're really cool. I want to know what playing this game for like 5 hours feels like. Not for 5 minutes.
That is true. They also let you skip to the boss, which I thought. I think we all did that.
Yeah.
Boss was pretty cool. There's a lot of managing multiple characters at once, and everyone is controlled with one simple face button, and then you can do like super moves once you build up a meter by pressing R1 when you attack, and like holding up an attack does something different than down an attack, like that kind of stuff. And you have to watch all of their ATB meters fill back up, and then trying to manage that, and then
also
block
managing blocking.
attacks.
Yeah,
that all felt really cool. The boss was pretty difficult actually, because he has 3 huge life meters, and like every time
he has 4.
4. So I thought I beat him like twice, but I still kept getting new life meters, and then I died.
And that was the cool thing too, because they like the boss battles they talk about, they jump back and forth between that like RPG battle system and the platforming section. So like you'll knock down one of his health bars, and then you have to go back into like platforming and do shit to like avoid attacks or attack a target or things like that, and then it goes back into all of it's really seamless and worked really well, and I thought it was cool. I just want to see those mechanics like in a real game,
extrapolated out to an actual game.
But the good news is that we're not limited to the time that we had played, because the demo that we played is the one that actually just came out this past Friday for backers. So,
but But I, like Crispy said, I'm just curious to see how that feels and plays in the context of the actual game.
A game like this, I mean, they've got the mechanics down, but it's going to live and die by its story and its narrative, and we really just didn't get any of that.
But it certainly has my attention, for sure.
Yeah.
Do we want to say anything with the other game we played?
Underworld Ascension?
We played a game called Underworld Ascension, and it's a really neat idea.
It's like a physics-based RPG,
rough.
But it is rough.
It's still it's still kind of in a rough stage of development. It's basically just like a first-person action RPG dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of just like going around these dark dungeony areas, and the demo was literally like, go into this dungeon, find an artifact, find a portal to get out.
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually broke it because, for the sake of the demo, like. They basically, like, once you find the artifact, they would spawn the portal to get out to finish the mission back at the beginning of the mission. So you basically just had to get to the artifact and get back. But I got the artifact and then died, but the respawn point they set was also for the same point where the portal was to finish the mission. So I respawned, took 2 steps forward, went into the portal, and the mission ended. And he was like, "Oh, I hadn't seen that happen before."
It looked a hell of a lot like Hellraid.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Hellraid was in development at Techland. It was basically the same thing, a fantasy dungeon crawler, but imagine that with Dying Light fighting mechanics.
Yeah, the fighting mechanics were not. I mean, the fighting mechanics were even not as good as Dying Light.
Like, I wouldn't. I was gonna say it's not even as good as back when we talked about Sea of Thieves. I talked about how I didn't like the way the combat felt in that game. I feel like this game is.
I mean, it's
even
kind of like
worse
that.
than that.
It's kind of like that. Warren Spector is working on the game, but
Oh.
the impression I got was that it's not in a day-to-day capacity.
Yeah.
It's like they see him regularly.
He's like the guy who
and he
stops
gives
in
them feedback,
and then
but
leaves
he's
them to their
not
devices.
directing or like he's not getting his hands dirty on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But so that's Underworld Ascension. We need to talk about one more game.
The big one.
The big one.
And we might talk about this. I don't want to go. We'll talk about it more probably because it looks like hopefully you guys are going to see it too before the show's over.
We're going to try.
Yeah, okay.
Let the record show. I tried to get y'all in for that one as well. But I failed because
Got so far.
CD Projekt Red's
But in the end, it didn't matter.
CD Projekt Red's meeting room was a hot mess in terms of like packed like sardines. So many people there. I think Cyberpunk 2077 is easily the most like high profile thing at E3 this year, and like they showed us an hour-long demo of this game, or 50-minute demo of the game, and there's so much to talk about, like to cover. I don't even kind of know where to start.
Let's start with your character.
You play V. So first of all, I think what struck me the most about
Vendetta.
Cyberpunk 2077, and I know there's been some preview stuff coming out today, but like if you hadn't read any of those previews and you walked into this demo and they started playing it, you would have been like, "What the fuck? This is a first-person shooter." Like, I mean, it's an RPG, but it is a first-person action RPG shooter.
Okay.
And in some ways, it feels a little Borderlandsy because like there's like you're shooting dudes and there's like fucking damage numbers flying off their heads and stuff, and you're getting experience that way. And but before you get to any of that stuff, like they started the game up, they showed you how the character there's a character creator. You pick a male or female. The character's name is V either way, I believe. I don't think you can alter the name. V is it could be.
Do you
male
happen
or
to have a
female.
vendetta?
Perhaps, I don't know.
Okay, you're done.
I'm done.
You're done with V for Vendetta jokes.
Okay.
Let's keep talking about the
Get
game.
it out of me.
V. You play as V, male or female. They didn't really get too much into like the character creator, but they did confirm that you can like change your body type, your hair, all that stuff. Pretty standard stuff. It looks super cool. Looks great. But they did a lot of stuff in this demo from start to finish. So it's kind of it kind of opened with you and your see it's oh God, it's so hard to kind of wrap my head around what to talk about here. Because you basically start out going on a mission to retrieve someone who is being held captive. There's people like harvesting organs and stuff, or like mechanical parts out of these cyborgs, or people who are like half
That's cool.
half
The
human, half
augmented.
cyborg, whatever. So
Well,
you like
that would just be a cyborg.
you go. Thank you. You go into this like apartment building, and you're like sweeping the halls, trying to get down to this place where they're holding this girl hostage. And you go in there, and immediately like a gunfight breaks out. Like you walk into a room, and like the first person he sees, he just like grabs and fucking murders them, and then shit goes crazy. In an event, that's where you kind of get your first taste of like how combat works, which is very much like. And like the entire time I was watching them play this game, and this I don't know if this is the best way to describe it in terms of like how it feels, like the world, everything, and the way like the world works and the way the world looks strikes me very much as like Deus Ex, like Mankind Divided, like that kind of Deus Ex, but like on crack. Like everything is like super about body modification
And good.
and good and good. There's wait, what? Oh, taking a dig at Deus Ex. Hey, I didn't play
Yeah.
Deus Ex either. Maybe you guys should ask me
No, they're
questions
good.
about this.
They're
This is so hard
Okay,
to like.
so,
recount
How
what
did
happened in an
combat
hour.
feel? Or to
Very like a lot of sliding around, taking cover, peeking out, shooting dudes. You only really got to get a good look at like two different weapons. One was the pistol, one was a shotgun. The special thing about the shotgun was that it can actually shoot through most surfaces. So if someone's like taking cover behind like concrete or like a wall or something,
You can punch
you could
through.
actually see like them hiding behind the thing and like shoot, and would go straight through that surface and kill them.
Cool.
They showed like enhancements you can make to various weapons through body modifications that allows you to like you could. He upgraded his bullets on this gun so it became like tracking fire. So like he was shooting and the bullets were going around and like
Oh,
when-
okay. You, like,
So they're
acquired a
wanted
target, and it like
yeah, and they would like curve
they would,
around
like,
walls
chain-
and
oh,
hit them
that's
and
really
stuff.
cool.
The
Curve
coolest
the
thing,
bullet.
the coolest modification they showed was about, and I forgot exactly what they called it, but it was like about ricocheting bullets strategically. So like when you aim with this modification, you see like this pink arrow that kind of comes off your gun.
shows you
and
the
when it hits
trajectory.
surfaces, it shows the trajectory of when it's bouncing off, so you can like shoot it and it would just like bounce
That's
around
so
corners and
cool.
shit, which looks super cool.
Was all the combat that you saw gun based?
I want to say there was a couple sequences where there was like a stealth takedown and stuff, you know, pretty standard stuff. But there was one in particular that's interaction that stuck out the most with me, and that was she was kind of sneaking around this place, and she looked down, and there were two dudes, and she had these. If you've seen the original teaser trailer, there was the
arm
mantis
blade
blades,
things,
right?
yeah.
So she's like climbing along the wall, and she has these blades that come out of her arms, which is a body modification. And she saw these two guards, and she had just unlocked a brand new modification in her eye, so it allows her to like read this. So you could scan the environment, you could scan enemies in the environment. She scans one dude and is able to when when you scan them, you're able to like actually like hack into them, and she like hacks his gun to like jam his gun.
Cool.
So then she jumps down and like impales one guy in front of him, and then she looks up and the other guy is like hitting his gun, like what the fuck?
What's
and then she like cut his fucking head off.
What is the whole hacking thing though? Is it just kind of like a context prompt or
It
something?
seems like it.
Like you just target the guy's gun and it's like hack, and you hit the hack button and attack.
Kinda.
Little watchdoggy that way.
A little bit, but everything has cooldowns too. That's why she didn't like hack both of them at once. And it shows us there's this whole sequence where she goes and actually gets the body modification from a what do they call them? They have this like special like black market name, right? It's like a doctor where you go and she sits you in this chair and you pick your modification, and like depending on what you're modifying, like he like actually like pulls your eyeball out of your socket. Like you see him like reach in, like since it's first person, you see him like go in, like pop your eye out, and then like take another eye and like pop it into your skull, and then suddenly you have like new modifications and shit.
That's cool.
There was a pretty there's a big sequence where they go out into the world and you get to see like the bustling city and like how everything works. There's like people everywhere. It was actually like one of the most like realistic looking cities in terms of like watching people like walk around and do things. It looked amazing.
Can I ask?
Yes.
Your character V. You're always going to be a cyborg.
I mean, I think the game.
It's Cyberpunk, dude.
Yeah, I think the game would be hard pressed to exist if you weren't.
Because
the entirety of the combat and
That's
RPG mechanics are based around the idea of like modifying.
That's
yourself.
a huge part of the original Cyberpunk property.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. So.
But yeah, you will. The entire thing is you're modifying your body with all these different things, which gives you all your abilities and
Vehicles.
Because I'm okay. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
First of all, it's the city. They confirmed no loading screens. Everything is seamless.
Good.
She gets into the car that you see on the trailer and drives that around.
That fucking bitchin' looking 80s future car.
Drives that around town.
Oh, was driving it?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
It's the thing is like everything is like at least in the area that they showed in the demo, everything seemed kind of like compact. Like it's a very crowded city.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel like The Witcher feels really good because it's a big, vast, like open fantasy setting. So getting on a horse and riding into the hills makes total sense. But like, this is so compact. It's not like driving around like, I don't know, like in Watch Dogs 2. You mentioned that. I'm playing that right now. Like big open areas, like you're driving down like long stretches of highway and stuff. I didn't really get a sense for that, but they did ensure us the world was very large and you can go anywhere and do anything.
Did you see a sense of that scale, or was it pretty big?
I mean, aside from the fact that she drove between the different like points and everything, like I didn't really get a really good sense for how big the world actually was. But it also they implied it was very vertical. It has a day-night cycle, so
and the whole thing takes place in this night city, right?
Yeah, Night City. And basically that scene they showed the first time we saw the trailer where she walks out and you see that plaza area.
Yeah.
That was the part where she walks out and she basically gets in the car from there and drives away.
Oh, okay.
Nice. So the role of your character in this game is you're a mercenary.
You're a mercenary and you're doing like everyone. It's kind of like everyone in this world is kind of just like doing whatever they got to survive and make it, so that everyone kind of has their roles and whatnot. But yeah,
it's almost maybe not quite as severe as like maybe the comic book version, but it's almost kind of approaching like Judge Dredd levels of future dystopian techno city kind of
like
thing.
that part at the beginning where I said you're going to retrieve that person who's being like harvested. You're doing that as a mission. Someone's asked you to do that. So you go in, you find this cyborg like in a bathtub, and she's like full of ice, or a bathtub full of ice, and like you pull her out, you carry her into the room. They like hack into her to find out that she still has vital signs, she's still alive, whatever. And then they call this like medic team to come evac her. And the medical team shows up, and the dudes get off this it's like this helicarrier that kind of comes in, and or not helicarrier, like a
hovercraft
that kind of comes in, and the medics, the EMS, like get out of the thing, and they're like decked head to toe in armor with guns, and
I saw.
They're like set her on the ground, and like you're like okay, and then like they're like now back up, and like everything is like super hostile in this game.
Yeah.
It's Mega City 1.
Yeah. So that kind of gives you an idea of everyone's just kind of doing what they got to survive. Everyone's kind of, it's debauchery is everywhere.
Nice.
I remember reading. They didn't show this, but like I remember reading something that came out the other day about them. Like you can apparently you can talk to people and like take them back home for like one night stand.
one night stands.
Yeah, you can have one night stand. Like the demo open, like after you get through that initial sequence. The next morning you wake up and like your partner is like in your bed with you and like gets up and like puts on clothes and like walks out the door.
So they do show like your home or whatever.
Yeah, you have your apartment.
Your like hub.
Yeah, you have a jacket, so your jacket's a big thing. So like you can actually like decorate your jacket with,
dude, of course it is. That's fucking dope.
And everything that you do in your jacket is like tied to stats and stuff, so you might put like a symbol in your back that like gives you additional like, stat boosts and stuff. It's fucking mad. It's fucking cool, man.
That's fucking cool.
And I think most importantly, it's just like it's a huge departure from The Witcher.
Yeah.
Such a huge departure.
So it's not just The Witcher in the future.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
This looks like, oh my god, I don't even. It's like some of the combat was even like I said, it like certain things reminded me of Borderlands. With like the bullet numbers are flying up everywhere. It reminded me of Deus Ex in terms of like kind of navigating the world and like and the way everything is just like about body modification.
Connected,
and then like some of the combat's like super fast paced. It kind of reminded me of like Doom 2016, the way she's running around sliding and like shooting things and like breaking through walls. And there's probably things that I'm forgetting. This is a pretty meaty demo. Like it's a 50-minute demo, and they do a lot of shit. They talked about how they do a mission at the end where and they talk about how like you can approach the mission in any number of ways, but depending on how you finish it, it kind of set your relationship to the quest giver could branch off in a dramatically different path, depending on whether.
So there's relationships and there's any sense for like a morality system.
Like you're basically doing this mission kind of like you don't want to, but like you're kind of forced to do it, and like you can either do it or you can like fuck her over, which then like puts you kind of like butting heads for the rest. So maybe she becomes like your enemy, and like you run into.
Did you see any loot in the game? Like loot in the world?
No. That I immediately recall, no.
Okay, were there any contextual, like, was there anything during gameplay where you got to see your character?
Outside of the pause screen, no.
Okay.
And
not even like when they get in the car?
There was a cutscene, like I said, when you first wake up and you're in your apartment. And like your partner gets up and like puts on his pants and walks out, and she's like,
and that's like in a third.
And like I guess there was a cutscene because she's walking around and you see her like making coffee and she's walking around in her underwear and stuff, and like.
Is that like a thing? Maybe like when you go to your house, maybe it moves into a third person camera.
It might be just when you're in your house because that did strike me as gameplay. I wasn't thinking to myself while I was watching that like, oh, I'm watching a cutscene, but she was like walking around pouring coffee and like putting on pants and stuff, and that's when she got her jacket out of the closet. So yeah, that entire time she was in her apartment, it was third person.
What about vehicle controls? Like, was that first person or third person?
First person.
That was first person?
Yeah.
So you're driving from like inside the... Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's got to be an option to change that though, right?
I just feel like if there's this much visual customization as you're implying with the clothing and all that, I would assume that they want to show the player model off more. And it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of that happening.
We'll see.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't, but like they were pretty adamant about the game being a first-person RPG. So, I mean, I'm sure there will be instances where you get to see your character, but this would not be the first time you create a character for a first-person game. It happens all the time.
Yeah, no.
And you do get to see the character in pretty great detail when you go into the pause menu and
Usually
stuff.
in that context, though, it happens in games where you're playing multiplayer with other people, so other people can see your character.
That's true.
Which there's nothing like
nothing
that. They didn't even
CD Projekt Red
utter
has
the
been
words
adamant
multiplayer.
there's no multiplayer
Okay.
in this game.
What is the personality of V?
Hard ass,
smarmy, hard ass.
kind of a smart ass, kind of a kind
Or
of
are we
a.
looking at dialogue trees or like?
Yeah, there's. I mean, when you're talking, there's dialogue.
That
options
I would
when you're-
expect that.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And to be honest, there's probably a lot of little details that I'm forgetting to mention right now. So I hope you guys get a chance to go check it out, so you can remind me of what I missed, and maybe go into more detail about stuff that I may have glossed over.
See.
I was getting pretty tired by this point of the day, so I was like yawning a lot in this demo, not because I was bored, because I was like literally just like starting to like
Lose it.
I was kind of doing that during the control demo, and I was feeling really bad that I was doing it.
I was really starting to run out of
Those
energy.
chairs were really comfy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
really good chairs.
I would say there's a good chance we'll probably talk more about this tomorrow or Thursday.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
The gunplay seemed good. I didn't get my hands on it because it was just a demonstration, but like everything seems super satisfying, super fun, and like the body modification possibilities seem endless. So
Cool.
it is such a
I mean,
it is such a left turn from The Witcher that like, oh my god.
it's everything
so
you've
exciting.
said has been pretty tops for me so
Yeah.
far. So
Yeah.
Seems pretty
let's
cool.
just hope you're not putting your Dying Light 2 blinders on. I'm joking.
Oh, my
I'm
God,
joking. I
going
love
to
you, Nick.
bed. Okay,
I'm joking.
guys.
I'm
bedtime.
joking.
This is the end of our day one fucking podcast. Thank you, or day three, whatever you want to call it.
Day 18.
Show floor day one podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know it's late. We've had a long day, and we have 2 more days of the show floor to go. So, of course, we will be in Discord as we were today throughout the day, posting shit in the E3 2018 channel. So if you haven't joined our Discord, we'd invite you to. It's discord.gg/4player. We'll be in that E3 channel all day. We'll also be on Twitter, twitter.com/4playerpodcast. And yeah, we have 2 more days of the show floor, so expect us tomorrow night. Of course, again, once we get back from the show floor and from having dinner and whatnot, we will sit down and record another one of these.
Maybe give them a little preview of what to expect.
I don't remember what to expect. I mean, I'm going to play Resident Evil 2. I know that. I'm also going to do my goddamnedest to find Sekiro. I hear Sekiro is in a meeting room somewhere in the concourse. I'm going to find it. The thing is, it's Activision. I have not in the past had great luck trying to make spur-of-the-moment appointments with Activision, historically speaking. But we'll find out.
Well, I'm going to go see Walking Dead.
You're going to go see The Walking Dead Overkill.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to look at it. We don't have a lot of appointments per se tomorrow.
Hairbrained.
I hope to God Crispy gets to play Valkyria 4 and gets his hat.
Oh my
He's
God.
literally losing hair thinking about.
If
First,
they give you a second hat, can I have the second hat? I don't usually wear hats, but like that's a great hat.
Oh my God. I'm.
Just guys, I
yeah.
just hope he's wearing the hat tomorrow night in the podcast. Anyways,
I do too.
thank you guys so much for staying up with
Me
us.
too.
We hope you guys are enjoying E3 from afar as much as we're enjoying it from here. It's been pretty fun. I can't wait to play some of the other stuff on the show floor, so we'll report back to you tomorrow. In the meantime, 4playernetwork.com is the website. You can find all of our E3 coverage thus far. All of our E3 podcasts are up and available. This one will be no exception. It'll be up tomorrow morning. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow night for another podcast. Good night.
Good night. Good night.